Item number one, prayers.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders in parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of humanity, we beseech you to look upon with abundant favor these your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to performance of such an important trust in this land. Let your blessings descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as promote your honor and glory, and advance the good of those whose interests you've committed to their church.
Another one. Give her this. Item 2, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, Right Honourable Prime Minister, members of the Cabinet, honourable members of Parliament, I want to welcome you to this afternoon's sitting, and I want you to join me in welcoming students of Ebenezer Christian High School, Bulenga, represented by Honourable, they are up here, Medad Segona and Honourable Seninde. They are here to observe the proceedings. You're most welcome. We also have 10 staff from the parliaments of Ghana and Zimbabwe. They're up here. You're welcome. Thank you for promoting regional cooperation. Honourable members, during the recess, I carried out a number of activities. I will not report on all of them, but I wanted to speak about my visit to Kasese district and to request that the government fast tracks the establishment of the international airport in Kasese. I know it is part of the National Development Plan, but Kasese is a meeting point of Virunga National Park, Rwenzori National Park, Queen Elizabeth National Park, and Kivale National Park. If we were to do what the Zimbabweans did and have flights directly into the national park, I think it would help. So I want to ask the Prime Minister that although it is already in the plan, if it could be fast-tracked, it would make economic sense and create employment for our people. I also wanted to inform you that on the 11th of October 2016, we had the International Day of the Girl Child. We hosted the children here in this parliament, and they held a session of their own. And among other things, they came up with some resolutions requesting for government support, policy changes, and I'll be asking the members of the Women Parliamentary Association to formally read the resolution. But in summary, they wanted government to encourage the maintenance and support of the girl child education, to improve the national budget, putting into consideration gender equity in favor of the girl child, to facilitate their education, and that the government should enact laws to protect the girl child victims of sexual offenses, especially in their pursuit for justice in the courts of law. I also received a petition from the East African Community Youth Ambassadors Platform. It's a group of youth all over East Africa who are working on issues of integration. Their main reason for coming was to request that a slot be created specifically for them in the East African Legislative Assembly so that they can effectively represent the other youth. So I'll be presenting that petition to the Committee on Rules, because in May next year, we shall be conducting elections for the East African Legislative Assembly. The third matter on which I wanted to communicate is a petition by the Uganda Women's Network. They came here to petition government and parliament to engender the composition of the Independent Electoral Commission. They noted that in the last term of the Electoral Commission, only 2 women out of the 7 were commissioners, and they said that was not in consonance with the objective number 6 of the national objectives and directive principles of state policy. I passed on the petition to the head of state, but I also wanted to inform you, and the same will be laid here for consideration of this House. Thank you very much. Now, there were a few members who had some issues to raise. Ona Ujene Tumuramye, please come. Your issue? Clarification? On
the communication from the one you've given us.
Yes.
About the...
Okay, wait a bit.
Madam Speaker, about the airport you've talked about of Kasese. In Kanungu equally, we have a small one, and the tourists use it actually, but it is not to that standard. So if we could look at it also and combine it with that one of Kasese, and they go together, maybe our tourists who come to see the gorillas would enjoy it more. From seeing the climbing lions, they just fly to Kanungu and go to see the mountain gorillas.
Okay.
It is in Kayonza sub-county, so I wish you could also look at that. Thank you very much.
Thank you for representing the interests of your voters. Honorable Tumurami.
Madam Speaker, and members of Parliament, my name is Genensio Tumuramye, Member of Parliament, Kashonji County from Kirura District. Madam Speaker, I rise up on a matter of national importance. This matter is concerning Energy for Rural Transformation Project. Madam Speaker, I first of all thank you for allowing members of Parliament to go for recess, to be able to monitor government programs and projects, as well as performing our social obligations. Madam Speaker, this matter is concerning Energy for Rural Transformation Project Phase Number 3. Madam Speaker, you are all aware this project is funded by World Bank, and it covers most districts in Uganda. Madam Speaker, this project is covering 21 projects in this country. As you are all aware, members of Parliament, most districts, most constituencies, and even municipalities are not yet connected to the national grid. Madam Speaker, Kashonji County is among those counties that do not have even a single pole of electricity in this country. Madam Speaker, the ERT Phase 3 was planned to commence in early 2017 under World Bank project. It's so unfortunate that the funding was secured, but it has been given a condition by World Bank. This condition is none other than that the government of Uganda must first compensate for where they are going to pass the line. And this is going to affect the project implementation. Madam Speaker, as you are all aware, it may not only affect only those areas, but it's also going to affect the project of the government of Uganda. Madam Speaker, I would like to make a prayer that this Parliament of Uganda should compel government of Uganda so that the Ministry of Finance can expedite the payment of the beneficiaries, so that this project can commence so quickly so as to enhance the project of Uganda. Because if we don't do that, it's going to affect what we normally call Chisanja, and it's going to jeopardize this program.
Okay. Thank you.
Chisanja hakuna michezo. We must work hard so that we implement this project so that Ugandans get access and connected to national grid. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Okay, I think we may have to establish whether we have actually budgeted for that money so that we can know. I don't know, Minister, do you know about whether we budgeted or appropriated that money? Minister of Finance?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. It is true that we have a challenge of funds required to do compensation before these projects commence. For example, under rural electrification, we have close to a bill of 400 billion for compensation alone. I think we need to reach a stage as leaders of this nation to make a statement to our people that probably if you need this power, then you can also forego something, because the poles to pass through your garden when you want to access this power, really, we should not continue like that. But the good news also, Madam Speaker, I want to inform our colleagues, is that now a decision has been made by government that all sub-counties of Uganda in the next 2 years will be connected to the grid. The remaining 287 sub-counties, we are looking for funds so that we connect all the sub-counties. All the districts, the 4 remaining districts who have secured funds, we are only remaining with 287 sub-counties, and that will be done in the next 2 years. So it is true we don't have the money for compensation, but we are working around the clock to get it.
Thank you. Honorable Muyanja. Yes, Honorable Karungi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The clarification, Madam Speaker, I want to know from the Honorable Minister is, he's talking about those sub-counties. But actually, if I can give an example of my district, you see those poles passing through the sub-counties, but people are not connected. So, is the passing through of these poles in the sub-counties mean connection? When people actually don't have power, they are in darkness. Madam Speaker, I wanted clarification on that. Because having poles alone is not enough. We need to see power there, not the poles. Thank you.
Okay, let's hear from Amuru.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The clarification I want to seek is, and it is in regards to Amuru district, as we speak now, the power line has been switched off going to the district because the line that is running is affecting somebody's trees or the forest. So yes, they have switched off the lines going to the district and it is being rationed. So it is still a very big problem between the rural electrification people and the forest, the owner of the forest. So this thing has to be rectified because people in Amuru district have actually stayed without power for a very long time.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you. According to our Vision 2040, and specifically for our manifesto for the next 5 years, our plan is to make sure that we increase the access to electricity from now 20.5% to 40%. But for us to do this, we must first of all get this power to where people are going to tap from. So we are going to first transmit this power to the sub-county. After the sub-county, through poles, of course, you cannot get it there through any other means. After the sub-county, now we are going to look at phase 2. Phase 2 will be looking at whether it is possible to connect to the household. Because we know, for example, that it's very hard for a poor person in the village to pull power from the pole to their houses. So phase 2 will be to think about how best can we now take this power to the household. But to begin with, we must take this power to the sub-county, and can only go to the sub-county through poles. Thank you.
Honorable Muyanja, Mukono. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I raise on a matter of national importance concerning our lake, the only one, Lake Victoria. For record purposes, I'm Yanja Johnson representing the Mukono South constituency. Right Honorable Speaker, I draw your attention and honorable members of this House that really we have a problem on Lake Victoria as we speak now. 2 years back, billionaires, local and foreign, were given space on Lake Victoria where they put their gauges or cage, the way they call them. But almost 50% on Lake Victoria was taken over. The little space on the water was also invaded by a team from Rwanda using small fish nets. And as we speak today, they have even approached as far as Katosi. So I'm here sent by the people from Mukono South who benefit from the lake, and I know many who are enjoying services from Lake Victoria are crying. Since we went to campaigns, there is no order on the lake, Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members. I therefore call upon, through you, Right Honorable Speaker, that the concerned ministry take action.
Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I can see honorable members of parliament seated in the corridors of the chambers as if there are no more spaces, to the extent that they are plucking out microphones because they are seated away from them. But when you look on both sides, Madam Speaker, there are empty seats with microphones that could be used properly. Is it in order, Right Honorable Speaker?
Honourable members, it is the Speaker who is responsible for the sitting arrangement, and the Speaker allowed them to sit there. Please proceed.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. It is against this background that the people of Mukono South and others are bring this as a matter of national importance through me, because I've tried to call police, they have done nothing, and I think this is the right follow to have this addressed. Allowed.
Thank you, Honorable Muyanja, for giving way. Right Honorable Speaker, what the member is raising is a matter of great public importance. The largest lake in the country, Lake Victoria, in Africa, to be privatized, to be taken over by individuals, yet this is a national resource, Madam Speaker. And to imagine from his statement that even people from as far as Rwanda are approaching Katosi, taking away this lake when we are looking on. Right Honorable Speaker, if I heard it very well, is government aware that Lake Victoria is held in trust on behalf of all Ugandans, and by giving it to a few people to monopolize, to put cages and own the lake, is an affront to even the constitution of this country? Can we get a statement from government here and now about the position of privatizing the lake? In 2006, it generated a lot of heat in the political campaigns, and government denied. But now a member is telling us that no, the lake is being privatized. People are owning it, it's inaccessible to the public. So, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, can we be told by government? Fortunately, there is the Vice President, there is the Prime Minister and Leader of Government Business, and his deputy, they are all seated in the House. Before we proceed on any matter, can we be informed as a country what is the current status and position of Lake Victoria here and now?
Information, Honorable Kundo, then the Rhunda, then Honorable Leader of Opposition.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, some time back, it was even an editorial commentary from New Vision. We had the Crater Lakes in a Kabarole given away to the private investor. And these Crater Lakes, they have been serving the local communities for a very long time. And now these local people cannot access water, they cannot get fish, because the private investor has not only taken over Lake Victoria, but has also gone for the Crater Lakes. And this could be the trend throughout the country if we do not arrest it as earlier as possible. Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Leader of Opposition.
Right Honorable Speaker, the same trend is catching up with us in the mountains of the Moon, in Kasese district, where Lake George is also being taken, and the Salt Lake industry is also being privatized. And the local people are worried that if their only source of income, we want to know, because this is information now on the ground and the people are not happy about it. People are worried that they are going to be denied of their livelihood. As the statement on Lake Victoria comes on the floor, we also would like to hear about these other lakes that we have where people have issues of government privatizing the lakes that the people are enjoying their livelihood from. Thank you.
Prime Minister, can we know whether we have a lake or not?
Right Honorable Speaker, at least I know that Lake Bunyonyi is in the hands of the people of Uganda. Now, I take the comments made by colleagues seriously. It's true that wetlands, lakes, rivers are really the property of the people of Uganda, and the government of Uganda is in charge on behalf of the people of Uganda. I will therefore ask the minister responsible to make a statement tomorrow to respond to these concerns that have been raised by the honorable members.
Thank you very much. So expect a statement on the Lake Victoria, Lake George, and the Crater Lakes in the Rift Valley. The lakes.
Madam Speaker.
On all the lakes? Okay. A statement on all the lakes in Uganda. Thank you.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the issue of caging on Lake Victoria is not a new matter. And I expected the Prime Minister to tell the country and tell members of Parliament, because it's not new in the House, and the issue of caging has been there. It came up in 2006, isn't it? It was up, and we've been talking about it. So it's not something new that the Prime Minister tells us that somebody will come and give information later.
No, but some members were not in this House at that time, so they need the information. Honorable Centenary, 2 minutes. Centenary. Centenary. Centenary.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I stand on a matter regarding to the Chinese investors in the name of Hima Tibet, who apparently are supposed to be investing in the copper mining industry in Kilembe, but the contrary is happening. We understand these people actually closed shop at the mining factory, because the farm which they had subcontracted to mine on their behalf, they were not able to pay them and they got disagreements. And apparently, they are just operating the machine shop, which is fabricating the manhole covers in the foundry, and they are recycling the Kilembe Mines scrap in the furnace. That is the business they are engaged in. They are also selling Uganda's hydropower at an average of 500 million per month. They are doing timber treatment, collecting rent from the housing estate at Kilembe Mines. And this is not the business, the principal business that they came for, which is outside mining. Even the working conditions of the workers as I speak now are really appalling because people are going underground without protective gears. They don't have medical insurance. They are paid 6,000 shillings per day to go underground. And when somebody falls sick, they even deduct from that 6,000 shillings that they are paying, as low as it is. So I'd like government to actually interest itself in the matter of these investors, because I know that we are borrowing a lot of money from China, and yet these Chinese are using our own money, our own hydropower. They are selling it to us, and we are borrowing money from them. The money that has come from our hydropower, the money that has come from the manholes which they are fabricating from Kilembe, using our own scrap, and also the income they are getting from the treatment of timber. As if that is not enough, they are even collecting rent from our own houses. Can government please interest itself in this matter? If these people are not doing what they came to do, then they should pack their bags and leave. Thank you.
Did we donate to the Chinese? Yes. It seems we invited them so that they, I don't know, anyway, Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, it's true that some of the people who say they are investors turn out not to be genuine investors. These allegations or statements that have been made, or this information is going to be investigated by government, and government will take the necessary actions to ensure that investors who come are indeed investing, and this House will be appropriately informed.
Okay, Honorable Katusave, and then Nambashe. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Atkins Katusave, Bukonzo West. But I'm here, Madam Speaker, because I am the Shadow Minister, Regional and Foreign Affairs. Madam Speaker, our Constitution is very clear. Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, as at 31st December 2015. And for those that have copies, your page is 170. The article is 210. Parliament regulates the UPDF. Parliament shall make laws regulating the UPDF regarding, and in particular, providing for D, page 171D, the deployment of troops outside of Uganda. Madam Speaker, as I speak right now, the radios, especially Congo, that are shared between Congo and Uganda, cross-border radios, or the airwaves, are relaying information to the effect that we have troops in Congo, Eastern DRC, and in particular, Beni. About 5,000 of our troops have been sighted in Enra Airport in Beni. What are they doing there without parliamentary approval or clearance, Madam Speaker? Because such deployments or illegal deployments are major causes of hostility between regional governments. And it's the people around borders, our communities around borders that get affected the most. So, Madam Speaker, this is a critical matter of national importance that I ask governments to subject to further evaluation and investigation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So we shall ask the government to tell us, Prime Minister, whether are we there or are we not there?
Right Honourable Speaker, I am not aware. Contrary to what my colleague has said, that Uganda has 5,000 troops in Beni stationed there. I'm not aware of that information. So government really, if you have any information, make it available. Government will follow it up.
Thank you. Dambesha and then Wafaki. 2 minutes, please.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I rise on a matter of urgent public importance pertaining the deplorable state that the people of Bududa are in now. We are normally synonymous with the natural disaster, but this time round, it is man-made. Uganda Wildlife Authority on 9th and 10th, just last week, some who are trigger happy were shooting in the air, others with rudimentary pangas and slashers were slashing crops that have matured, that are due for harvest. In the sub-counties of Mayoka and my own in Bududa. And even when the woman member of parliament, Bududa, together with myself, had engagements with the leadership of Uganda Wildlife Authority personnel at the regional offices, little did we know that they were hoodwinking us in convening these meetings as the slashing of these mature crops was going on. The claim by UA is that the people, the Wananchi, have encroached on the national resource, which we all value, Mount Elgon National Park. But far from the truth, the challenge of encroachment on that national park is the creation of UA itself. Because they go extorting money from the citizens, and then they allocate them these plots to grow crops which are not perennial. But when these crops mature, they have perfected the art of going back again to extort money from the people. What they do is, Madam Speaker,
just conclude, yes.
Intimidatory action of cutting 3 gardens so that the rest of the farmers contribute huge sums of money to the UA to save the crops from being cut. We have had running battles between UA and the community, and it culminated in 2 directives, cutters of His Excellency the President, to the Prime Minister, who should by now should have had efforts in place to nip in the bud these disastrous actions. But Madam Speaker, up to now, we are still waiting for the office of the Prime Minister, which is deliberately dragging its feet to address this challenge. My prayer is that UA is not above the law, and I wouldn't want the people to be provoked to the extent that they take the law in their hands. Something drastic must be done by the office, the relevant line ministry. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you, Honourable Member, for giving way. The information I would like to give you and the August House is that actually there are bigger problems than even the gardens. Because when you look at Bududa and the surroundings, the whole Mount Elgon area, there was a plan of resettling people. And up to now, these people have not been resettled. We have even just been in a meeting with UWA, and what they are saying is that they are requesting government to expedite the resettling of the people. And this was done long time ago when we had the calamity of the Bududa, as you all know, but nothing has taken course. So I think this is just a small symptom of a bigger problem.
Okay, honour members, in relation to your Prime Minister, during the recess, there were 2 publications in New Vision that rangers killed some Ugandans in the national park. First they killed 7, and they killed another 7. It was big headlines. I don't know whether anybody has been arrested in relation to the killing of those civilians. I think we'd like to know what's happening. Honour Vafaki? Vafaki? 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I represent the people of Kazo. Madam Speaker, I have a matter of national importance, a serious question surrounding posting and transfer of head teachers. Head teacher, Madam Speaker, whereas I appreciate the effort by the Ministry of Education and Sports in posting and transfer of head teachers, as has been done recently, Madam Speaker, recall that some schools in Uganda are hard to reach, and that government has not gazetted some of these hard to reach schools in this category. Therefore, civil servants in such schools do not get the 30% special allowance for hard to reach schools, but are paid on standard rates of the easy to reach schools. Madam Speaker, before these new postings of head teachers, many schools had caretakers working as acting head teachers. Madam Speaker, selection of many of these caretakers is done by or in consultation with and a recommendation of school governing bodies. Note also that some caretakers have been proved to be working effectively and efficiently towards the achievement of goals of these schools. Our government schools have different foundation bodies and therefore different governing bodies. Some are churches, mosques, and others by communities. Madam Speaker, I need the Minister of Education to clarify on the following issues of national importance. 1, who is a caretaker? 2, was the recent posting of head teachers and transfer done in conformity with the interest of school governing bodies? 3, what are the criteria of a caretaker to become a substantive head teacher? Madam Speaker, you recall that the Education Service Commission Regulation 2012, Statutory Instrument 51, Section 22(4) states, where an acting appointment has been authorized by the Commission, the acting appointment shall be for a period not exceeding 6 months, after which the acting officer should be considered a substantive appointment to the post. Madam Speaker, information?
No, please, conclude.
Madam Speaker, finally, allow me to submit before you, the Honorable House, that many Ugandan civil servants have been serving in acting positions for a long of time. But to my surprise, they have not been given a chance to be taken up as substantive head teachers. I have a complaint from one head teacher from my school, my county, actually, in this category, even after being recommended by the permanent secretary for accelerated promotion, nothing has been done. But the ministry has opted instead to transfer him without even consulting the board of directors. It is a very dangerous issue, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Member, I think it's better if you write to the minister with the details of the name of the person, the school, the sub-county, so that they can answer. But you identify the person you want them to help you with. Right. Okay, honourable members, we now go to item 3, Prime Minister.
Procedure, Madam Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker and honourable colleagues. Right Honourable Speaker, I would like to report back that following the instruction from this August House to me, given yesterday, the 15th of November, 2016, concerning the assent to the Uganda Cancer Institute Bill 2016, I've had consultations with His Excellency the President, and I would like to inform this August House that the bill will be returned before the end of this week. So that is the report, Right Honourable Speaker.
So the act will be in our hands by the end of the week. Is that what you are saying? Okay. The Chair of Health Committee, please take note. The act should be here. The act should be here by the end of the week. Item 4. On what? On what?
Thank you very much.
Madam Speaker, the procedural matter I'm raising is on the previous matter we had here from Honorable Margaret Wabushaija about the bridge schools. I remember vividly that the Honorable Member raised the matters concerning bridge international schools. Madam Speaker, after that matter was raised here, there was no due diligence carried out. What we are seeing now is a ministry official by the names of, I'm forgetting the name, visiting a school and getting to the school, he meets the head teacher. He says, this school is supposed to be closed. And the head teacher says, Mr. Commissioner, we have no letter in connection with this matter. And the commissioner handed over a letter to the school. Madam Speaker, these schools were raised in this house, but there's a problem about them. And the news are running everywhere in the country. One, when you are going to close a school, there are steps you follow.
Honourable Member, I think you are in breach of our rules. You are not supposed to bring up this matter in the same session. We had a debate here on that matter. If you want to make a formal motion to reopen the debate.
I'm on procedure, Madam.
No, please. You make a formal motion to reopen the matter. We had a debate here. We made resolutions. You cannot discuss in the same session. That's what our rules say.
Much obliged, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Procedure, Madam Speaker. Procedure.
No. On what?
Oh, Madam Speaker, I raised a very important matter of national importance yesterday regarding the brutality that is being meted on street vendors in Kampala. And the government never responded. Even yesterday, as I was raising it, they were harassing the very people. So I think it is procedural, okay for government to respond. There is a lot of uncertainty as far as the issue is concerned. Thank you.
Can we direct the Minister for Kampala to come and answer the question raised yesterday about the treatment of the vendors in Kampala? Item 4. Item 4. Item 4.
Item 4, laying of papers.
Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, I wish to lay a proposal to borrow up to 210 million US dollars from the Islamic Development Bank to finance the upgrading of Wekunye Apache Lila Road project.
My members sent the Committee of National Economy for perusal and report back. 4A2.
Item 4.2.
Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, I wish to lay a proposal for government to guarantee lines of credit, 10 million US dollars from the Islamic Development Bank and 16 million US dollars from the Arab Bank for Economic Development for lines of credit to Uganda Development Bank Limited.
Sent to the Committee of National Economy for perusal and report back.
Item 4A3.
Madam Speaker, wish to lay a proposal from government to borrow 24 million US dollars from the International Development Association of the World Bank support Eastern and Southern Africa higher education centers of excellence project.
Sent to the Committee of National Economy for perusal.
Item 4A3.
Madam Speaker and honorable colleagues, I'd like to lay a proposal of government to borrow 110 million US dollars from the International Development Association of the World Bank, support the Uganda Reproductive, Maternal and Child Health Services Improvement Project in Uganda.
Sent to the Committee of National Economy for perusal.
Item 4A4.
That has been done, I think. It has been done. It has been done. 4B, Minister of Lands. 4B, Minister of Lands. 4C.
Item 4C, report of the Auditor General for the value for money on the urban infrastructure component of the Uganda support to the municipal infrastructure development USMIT program and selected non-USMIT infrastructure projects implemented by 1. Fort Portal Municipality Council in the financial year 2013-14, 2014-2015. Hoima Municipal Council, financial year 2013-14, 2014-15. Arua Municipality.
Battery. Let's call the Commissioner to, Commissioner Bahati, can you lay those papers, please? Commissioner Bahati, can you assist and lay the papers?
One by one. One by one. One by one. Madam Speaker, I would like to lay on the table reports of the Auditor General for value for money on urban infrastructure component of the Uganda project to Municipal Infrastructure Development Program for the following selected projects. Fort Portal Municipal Council for the year 2013-14 and 2014-15. Hoima Municipality Municipal Council for the financial 2013-14 and 14-15. Arua Municipal Council for the financial 2013-14, 14-15. Lila Municipal Council for the financial 2013-14, 14-15. Guru Municipal Council for the financial 2013-14 and 14-15. Jinja Municipal Council for the financial 2013-14 and 14-15. Kabale Municipal Council for the financial year 2013-14 and 2014-15. Soroti Municipal Council for the financial 2013-14 and 2014-15. Mbale Municipal Council for the financial 2013-14 and 2014-15. Tororo Municipal Council for the financial 2013-14 and 14-15. Mbalala Municipal Council for the financial year 2013-14 and 2014-15. Entebbe Municipal Council for the financial 2013-14 and 2014-15. Moroto Municipal Council for the financial 2014-15 and 14-15. Masaka Municipal Council for the financial ended 2013-14 and 2014-15. I beg to leave.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. All those are sent to the Committee on Local Government Accounts for perusal and report back. Item
5, Prime Minister's time.
Item 5, we shall have 45 minutes. Honorable Boa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, under Article 6 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, 1995 as amended, the official language of Uganda is English, and the second official language is Kiswahili. May I therefore know from the Right Honorable Prime Minister what action is going to take on the government ministries, departments, and agencies that are codenaming national campaign messages in other languages. I can give examples. Tulambule, Tulumbe. And yet the Constitution is clear in Article 6. It should either be in English or in Kiswahili. Right Honorable Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I agree with my brother Honorable Boa that the official language is English and that the second language is Swahili. But it's also true to say that the purpose of language must be to communicate to the people. Therefore, while accepting that constitutional position, it is also right that government departments, agencies, and any that may wish to communicate can use other forms of communication and languages in order to ensure that people targeted to get the messages actually get the messages.
Now Kaberuka, Kainza, Mwesije, Obala, then I come this side. I've got you. Honorable Kaberuka.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the question I'm putting to the Prime Minister is about the charges, the connections of power in case one has a service pole. Madam Speaker, we have many service providers, talk of Umeme, talk of Fadisalt in Uganda, and are licensed and instituted by the government to provide those services. But Madam Speaker, what is happening? While Umeme is connecting the government, the Ugandans in some areas at 98,000 Uganda shillings, Fadisalt in its areas of service, that talk of Kanungu, where I come from, Kisolo, Rukunjiri, and some other areas, it is connecting people at 620,000 when the government of Uganda has provided a service pole. Madam Speaker, when is the government harmonizing those charges because they are all Ugandans under the same arrangement. How does it come? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, the operators of power distribution have an agreement with the government. I would not have expected such described disparity between, say, Umeme and some of the people and companies concerned. If that is the case, it's a matter that the government will take up and ensure that this gross described disparity is addressed.
Honourable Kayinza, then Mwesigye Obala.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. My question to the Prime Minister is about the Uganda Wildlife Authority conflict and its management. I would like to find out when government is going to implement the presidential directive of degazation of the park at Mount Elgon National, the boundaries of Uganda Mount Elgon National Park, and the resolutions. How far has government gone on the resolution, the Maluhu resolutions? The Honourable Prime Minister, you attended that meeting. So what progress has government made since then to resolve that conflict between the communities and the Uganda Wildlife Authority? This is also in bid of protection of our environment. Thank you.
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, one of the main problems in the Elgon region, stretching over the Elgon mountain, has been complete visible demarcation of the border between the national park and the boundary between the national park and the Wananchi. Last week, we had a meeting involving some of the leaders from the Mount Elgon region, and we also involved the leadership of UWA, and we did agree that there was going to be more expeditious demarcation of the boundaries, and that should be able to remove the cause of the problems and the cause of misunderstandings.
Now, Mwesigye, then Honourable Obala, then I come to Karungi Oshabe, then I move this side.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. My question to the Prime Minister is that about 2 months ago, the President directed that no foreigners should continue to involve in retail business. And the Prime Minister re-echoed the same directive. Now I would like to know what steps is the government taking to weed out these foreigners, so-called investors. What steps is the government taking to actually get rid of these scavengers who are scavenging on these small business people who are suffering? We want to know the guidelines, the steps, practical steps, which should be published to all Ugandans to know that these people are being actually weeded out. If they're investors, they should be investors. We want to know, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you.
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, the responsible departments of government, trade, immigration, and like have been advised to ensure that the law is passed so that genuine investors are protected and quack investors are indeed not allowed to masquerade.
Honourable Obala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is David Abala, MP Ngora County. I am rising to ask a Prime Minister a simple question, but very important, about the Ngora Water Project. It has become a story, you know, like as we talk now, there's a water crisis in Ngora, in Nyero, and Kumi municipality. And this water project, for a long time we're told that we're waiting for an agreement to be signed by World Bank. And it's almost now 6 months. And there's no proper answer from government. So as we talk now, there's a problem in terms of water as far as water is concerned. I am just asking the Prime Minister, when are you starting this project? Because now we have a water crisis in Ngora. Thank you so much.
Prime Minister.
Right, Honourable Speaker. The Honourable Member is advised to make specific contact with the Minister in charge of water to get the specific details of the project.
Honourable Karungi, then Oshave. I'm coming.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I'm very grateful to the government because Kanungu has benefited on the program of tea seedling, and it has really helped us seriously. But it is very much unfortunate, Right Honourable Speaker, our people have not received the money for the tea seedlings. They supplied like a year ago or there. And it has been unfortunate that of recent, some of them are starting to be taken to prison. So far we have 4 people who are in prison, Mr. Prime Minister. Can you really help us expedite the process and make ready the payments for these tea suppliers and coffee so that they are able to pay their loans in the banks and also pay the school fees for their children? Thank you.
Prime Minister.
Right, Honourable Speaker, this matter is very well known to government, and government has already instructed NADS through the Minister of Agriculture to ensure that all verified tea seedlings are paid for. And the program of payment is supposed to be immediate.
Now, Oshave Okin. Wamai.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Prime Minister, my name is Patrick Insamba Oshave. I represent the people of Kasanda North. 2 weeks ago, I went to a forex bureau. I exchanged the dollar at 3,300 shillings. 1 week ago, I exchanged the dollar for 3,500 shillings. Yesterday, I exchanged the dollar at 3,580. This afternoon, I've exchanged the dollar at 3,620. That is very worrying to this economy. Right Honourable Prime Minister, is Bank of Uganda is still in charge of managing the exchange rate in this country? Thank you very much.
Prime Minister.
Right, Honourable Speaker, Bank of Uganda is definitely in charge. But Bank of Uganda cannot just artificially fix the exchange rate. This really depends on exactly what we were discussing yesterday when the Honourable Minister of Finance presented his paper on the national economy. The pressure on the shilling is a reflection of the various challenges that the economy is facing. And as the Minister of Finance said yesterday, the answer, and the colleagues, many of the colleagues made good proposals. The answer is to ensure that we increase exports so that we can get more dollars. We add value so that we can export what will bring dollars to the country. So strengthening the economy will make you exchange the dollar perhaps at 3,000 next year.
Honourable Ojara, as Honourable Ojara comes, I want to announce that Parliament is conducting training for the MPs on use of iPads at the ICT Resource Centre Development House It started on Monday. It will end on the 25th. So members are urged to participate in the training to acquire all the necessary knowledge. Honorable Ojara. After Ojara, we shall have Wamai.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have one question to the Right Honorable Prime Minister. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, you are aware that in 1999, Uganda signed the Rome Statute, in which they agreed to actively participate and abide by that statute under the International Criminal Court. But recently, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, there has been a heated debate in the African Union whereby members of the government that signed the Rome Statute threatened to withdraw from the ICC. I think South Africa is a case in point. And also Namibia hinted that they might actually quit also the ICC. And also Zambia. We would like to know, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the position of Uganda in as far as their involvement with the ICC is concerned. And if Uganda is going to withdraw, Honorable Prime Minister, what is going to happen to the case that is now in the ICC with Dominic Ongwen? Thank you very much.
Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, it's true that Uganda is a founder member of ICC, but it's also true that Uganda has been concerned about the conduct of affairs by the ICC, and Uganda with her sister African countries under the umbrella of AU. Uganda is, with her sister countries, reviewing its position with regard to ICC. And Uganda's position will be the collective position that we as African countries will take on the matter. With regard to details of the cases, the Attorney General and the laws will be able to tell us how to handle it.
Honorable Wamai, then Akelo, Mukitale, Ngeto.
Can the Prime Minister tell us about the ratio of Uganda's debt today vis-à-vis the GDP?
Prime Minister.
Well, yesterday the Honorable Minister of Finance gave an exhaustive paper, and in this paper there were very many significant figures and ratios that, that describe the performance of Uganda with regard to debt and other issues. I will not offhand give you the number. I will need to consult the responsible minister so that the number I give you will be factual and authoritative.
Thank you. Honorable Frank Akelo. Frank Akelo, then Honorable Kitale.
Right Honorable Prime Minister, aware that the wildlife affects communities that surround game parks negatively in terms of destruction of crops and lives and so on, and also aware that there is a gap in the Wildlife Act. When is government coming with an amendment to that act to provide for compensation of victims?
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, I do not have specific information as to when that amendment is coming. Cabinet has not discussed it to the best of my knowledge. However, this is a matter that can be pursued with the minister responsible.
Honorable, I think Mukitale. Mukitale. Then Ogento.
Thank you so much,
Then
Honourable Speaker.
To Yamuhweza. Then Regan.
Honourable Prime Minister, there is crop failure for the last 2 seasons in very many areas of the country. There is already a famine in some communities, citizens of Uganda are dying. Many years, half a century after independence. Tax collection is going down. We don't seem to see any stance of an early warning or action from government. Business is as usual. We see handouts in some places when others are dying of hunger. What government program do you have to avert this glaringly looming situation? Because it seems the earliest we may get a good crop will be next year in July. What does government have in plan in form of a proactive measure to make sure that citizens of Uganda don't get a human disaster?
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, as you remember, only yesterday you tasked the government to come with a comprehensive statement on issues of strategic tasks and plans of ensuring food security in the country. It is also not true to say, and we are going to do this by the way on Thursday, as you directed. And already a team of ministers responsible and the Minister for Disaster is already working on the requisite statement. It is not true to say that government has just been seated. Far from it. Actually, if you want, His Excellency the President is one who is leading the campaign to sensitize the people of Uganda on improved methods of agriculture in order to produce more food. Number two, ministers have been in different parts of the country, and tomorrow another team of political leaders and technical leaders are being launched to go out of the to the districts to explain to the Wananchi on the urgency methods of improving agriculture. It is true there has been some supply of some limited amounts of food in areas where people are really very desperate. We know that this is a very short-term measure. It's not the solution. It is nevertheless necessary that some resuscitation in terms of food takes place so that people can survive in order to be able to produce more.
Honourable members, as Honourable Gento comes, please join me in welcoming pupils and teachers of Model Pathfinder School, Kanungu District, represented by Honourable Karunji and Honourable Variomusa. I don't know where they are. Can you stand up? Pathfinder School, there they are, from Kanungu. Also join me in welcoming students and teachers of Trinity High School, Lugaga, Kaboda Soke in Gomba, up there, represented by Honourable Rakojo and Honourable Nayevari. You are welcome. Honourable Gento, to be followed by Honourable Olivia, and then...
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, one time in this House, we had an extensive discussion on gambling machines in our rural communities. And some local governments even took an initiative and followed up on what we discussed here. But unfortunately, in some cases, and I'm speaking for Nebi District, that in some places we have Indians who have persisted because they say they have got the licenses to operate these machines in our rural communities. I want to ask the Prime Minister what the government is doing to strengthen the local governments to make sure that these machines are removed from our rural communities. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, the Honourable member's concern is widely shared in this House and definitely in the Cabinet. You may be interested to know that this has also been a matter of discussion by Cabinet, by coincidence, only this morning. And the Minister of Finance has been tasked to review this problem and come out with concrete proposals for consideration on how to provide the remedy.
Honourable Koyechenka, then Honourable Kumu. I've seen you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, on 20th of July, you instructed the Minister of Finance to follow up the matter of tea factory that was pledged by His Excellency to the farmers of Buweju. You told them to follow up the matter and report to us. Up to today, they have not reported to us, and we don't have any information about the same matter. I went ahead to write to them, but I have not received any information. Mr. Prime Minister, do you have any information for us? Thank you.
Prime Minister.
Honorable, I share your concern. I have further instructed the Minister of Finance he will give you and the House information about the matter tomorrow.
Okay, Honorable Okumu. Okumu Aja.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Jalia.
Madam Speaker, I want to raise issues with the Prime Minister concerning setting standards by government and failing to fulfill those standards. Government sets standards, especially for service delivery, but at the end of the day, they undermine that same standard they are put in place. For example, Madam Speaker, I have 4 areas. One, government sets standards for local government to have specific number of staff. But in turn, government fails to provide the necessary resources for the local government to recruit staffs. And most local governments in Uganda are now operating below 50% of the staffing they should be having. Secondly, government sets standards in education, giving pupil ratio, classroom pupil ratio, classroom pit latrine ratio, teacher housing ratio. They set it from Ministry of Education. But as we speak now, in the countryside, in local government, Madam Speaker, in some cases we have a ratio of 1 to 155 pupil ratio to a toilet. Classrooms goes to a ratio of 1 to 90, 1 to 100, 1 to 140, and that ratio is too high. The third area is the area of health, Madam Speaker. Government also set standards as to what should be provided at every health center. Health Center 2, Health Center 3, but in turn they failed to provide these services to local government. And every year in out, the Auditor General raises questions of concern, blaming local government for not having met those standards, and yet the center has not sent them resources. The fourth and the last example, Madam Speaker, is a question I also raised to the Prime Minister, that good relationship is good, especially for people who support us in areas of service delivery. The United States is a superpower. They also have a lot of contribution to Uganda. They have had a major election, but up to date, we've not had our government congratulate Mr. Trump for having won the election. It's curtains.
But honorable member, our standards are going. You are. That's not how you ask questions. Eh? Honorable Aja. Aja, then Honorable. Oh, sorry. Prime Minister first.
Right Honorable Speaker, I think I should start with Trump. I think Uganda was one of the first countries to congratulate Trump on his election. Number two, the general point that Ndugu Reagan has made about government setting standards and not fulfilling them. Actually, government sets standards with intention to obviously fulfill them, but as you very well know, sometimes resources don't come as expected, and consequently, resources may not in some areas reach as were planned, and therefore service delivery may be undermined. Resources is one aspect, but there are a number of other parameters which I will not go into now. Nevertheless, the point is well taken, and the government will endeavor to ensure that the targets set are indeed fulfilled.
Nobody younger. Then Honorable Jalia Bintu, Honorable Tomuranda, Honorable Cooper.
Right Honorable Prime Minister, my question to you is on e-banking, especially mobile money services. To what extent do you cater for Ugandans who may lose money? For example, if a Ugandan has mobile money on his phone and he or she dies with the money still on the phone, suppose a Ugandan who loses his phone with mobile money still on the phone and does not claim the same SIM card, to what extent do you make sure such monies remain in the economy and do not just go astray?
Well, I think Honorable Aja is assuming rather too much about my expertise in mobile money. Suffice it to say that the Bank of Uganda is in charge and is regulating this sector.
Honorable Bintu Temuranda, Okupa, Okefungaro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in 2007 during CHOGM, government went out and constructed buildings which have remained incomplete. They have never been handed over to local government. In Masindi, we have such a structure. Actually, we've been waiting for the government to hand over that structure. If it, at all it was government which constructed. I want to find out from the Honorable Prime Minister, what plans do you have for those buildings? Because they were not within the district local government plans.
Honorable Prime Minister.
Well, Right Honorable Speaker, it's quite interesting that there was a sub-center of CHOGM in Masindi. I was not aware, but Honorable Bintu and I and other responsible government officials can review that matter and see the next correct step to take.
Thank you, Honorable Temuranda. Then we come here. Temuranda first and then we come. No, Temuranda first.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in 2011, when the Mitiana Highway and Mitiana and Masaka highways were about to be constructed, landlords that have land titles were taken away from the landlords that have land alongside those roads. The roads were constructed and completed. Some years have gone now. Landlords have not gotten back their land titles. Some have died. Others who are still living cannot even access loans from banks. My question is, when will the government give back landowners their land titles? I thank you.
Prime Minister. But maybe Honorable Temuranda, they were paid, they were compensated, but their title deeds have not come. Is that what
they were compensated and the land title was taken, but they have never returned them.
Well, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm glad that the Wananchi were paid, and the Minister of Lands and the Minister of Works should expeditiously ensure that the Wananchi recover their land titles.
Yes. Go here, then go to Honorable Cooper.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Prime Minister, my name is Isaac Malindo Asozi. I represent Rugazi Municipality. 2 months ago, I asked a question about the fate of LC1 elections in the country. As I speak now, in the villages, actually all over the country, there are some cases that are brought to this level that were being handled by these LC1 authorities. In Rugazi Municipality, I have a case of land where the former First Lady, Mary Obote, is threatening to displace over 200 families in 3 villages. And these were being handled, these issues would sit with the LC ones and go through these issues. But as I speak now, you can get into villages and nobody is ready to give first-hand information. What is the fate of LC1 elections? Thank you.
Prime Minister.
Right, Honorable Speaker, of course, the issue of land and evictions has come fairly often in this House, rightly so, because it's a common problem. I think it's our duty to ensure that the law takes its course and that we sensitize the population about their rights. But my advice is that let the law be followed to ensure that the case issue in Rugazi area is resolved.
No, Prime Minister, that was subsidiary. The main one is, when will the elections be? The main issue is LC1 election.
That is true. I did announce in this House about 2 months ago that elections for LC1s will be in January. Okay. That position still stands.
Thank you. Honorable Okupa, then Fungaro, Lucy.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. It's good the Prime Minister is ending on that note. In fact, I'm rising on the point of the law requires the Electoral Commission leadership commissioners to be appointed 3 months before the expiry of the commission. Now that by tomorrow, Dr. Kigunda and group will be vacating the office. When is the government appointing the new electoral commissioners? Because if we are to handle elections in January, we don't have electoral commissioner as of tomorrow. So when are you appointing the new electoral commissioners?
Right Honorable Speaker, I expect the Electoral Commission to be elected, to be appointed any time now.
Okay, Fungaro.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Prime Minister, as a citizen of this country, a member of Parliament, I'm pleased with the statement of Uganda government on the construction of the standard gauge railway. My question is about the former River Nile transport system from Namasagali to Masindi Port on the Nile, to Butiaba, to Panyemur, Rhino Camp, Obongi, Nimule. Now that the plan of the Republic of Uganda and the East African countries is to extend the railway line to South Sudan from Gulu, from the east via Gulu, from Tororo via Gulu, Nimule to Juba. And remembering that the former East African railways and harbour network of railway operated was partly augmented by the Nile water transport system, which I described here. What is the policy, what is the program of the government of the Republic of Uganda to help the people in the Nile Valley, beginning from Kamuli, passing from throughout the Nile, including Obongi up to Nimule? What are you doing about the Nile Valley, Right Honourable Prime Minister? Are you going to revive, are you going to provide any alternative for this part of the essential economy of East Africa?
Right Honourable Speaker, the connection between Kamule and Ubongi has not been forgotten by government. In fact, as you know, government has already provided quite one or two ferries to ensure that the people are moving on Lake Kyoga and the like. The critical point is to modernize water and road and railway transport. As we modernize, some older systems may be improved, others may give way. The critical point is that the wananchi should have affordable, efficient means of transportation.
Thank you. Honorable Lucy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, Section 2 of the Prisons Earning Rates Rules 2001 indicates that Grade A laborers in the prisons, that is the skilled, get 500 shillings a day, and then Grade B, that is the semi-skilled, get 250 shillings a day, and then Grade C, the casual laborers, get 100 shillings a day. I am aware that these monies are actually very instrumental in helping our prisoners as they reform to help their families. But this money is very little. Now the question I have for you is, within what time frame are we revoking this section to help the prisoners earn actually a better pay than what is already there? I thank you.
Prime Minister.
I'm not aware of any process that is reviewing this. However, the point is worth being considered, and the Minister responsible for Internal Affairs will review the matter.
Thank you. Let's go there, and then here. Then Honorable Kumama. Kumama Davirano.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
But be quick, please.
I'm Watenga Godfrey Nabutanyi. Madam Speaker, following government decentralization system, there was a number of sub-counties which were created. And these sub-counties up to now do not have offices where they can operate from. Our case study was in Bududa district, where we had sub-county workers were locked out by the landlord because of failure to pay rent, because they don't have source for this money where they can get for rent. And Madam Speaker, now I'm seeking clarity from the Right Honorable Speaker, the plans the government is having on this matter. Thank you.
Yes, Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I agree with the Honorable Member. It's true that there is, this matter has not been adequately addressed, and it's a question of cash flow issues. As resources become available, these areas will be addressed so that they are properly housed.
After here, we are going here.
Mr. Speaker, Julius representing Kabalibio. My question goes to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, currently, what seems to be a very serious problem in Uganda is the crisis caused by climate change, which is affecting the livelihood in Uganda. For quite a number of years, government has been talking about responding on this matter in a more appropriate manner. Can I be explained by you or given an answer why, or if it has been done, why government has not undertaken the soil analysis in Uganda so that to support the planning, so that we finally find the modest way of responding to the food crisis in Uganda due to climate change? That's one. Two, I also seek explanation from the Prime Minister. Prior to our coming here, the office of the Prime Minister was distributing tractors. Can I be explained what policy is in place over the usage of these tractors? Because the tractors are either being personalized, But the other day when we met in the office of the Prime Minister, they said the tractors belong to the Prime Minister and the books are here, but they are not tractors. We can't see the operations. This is the time we receive very little rain and we need capacity to open land so that to avert the calamity on the ground.
Okay.
Can the Prime Minister respond?
Right, Honourable Speaker. On the question of soil studies, the country has a reasonable picture and capacity of knowing the soil qualities in different parts of the country, and that's on the basis of which government has been, through Ministry of Agriculture, NARO and others, been advising. So we have that capacity. Number two, on the question of tractors, it's true tractors were given out some time, a year or two ago, through the office of the Prime Minister, by government, mainly to communities that had been affected by the war and other conflict situations, to enable the communities to utilize those tractors to increase production. We have received some reports of and problems of management, and already some of our members of staff have intervened in those situations. So we appreciate getting more specific information so that we deal with that situation.
Nabokumama, then Ngabirano.
The Right Honorable Prime Minister, Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. I have two concerns which always perturb my mind. One is the connection from Kawongo landing site to Apache district. There is that connection desires a ferry. I don't know whether government has ever thought about it. I would love to interest the Prime Minister and the entire government in that connection, because it's the shortest connection to the north from the center. The other one I wanted to also interest government on is, my friend from Bongi had mentioned it, is the concern about developing the central area of this country. A road from Nakasongola through Bale, my constituency, through Kamuli, Kaliro, up to Palisa. I would love to interest government in this connection, because as I speak, there's only one outlet to the east from the center. If you don't pass through River Nile, then I don't know where you're going to pass. So I would love to interest government into that connection, look at the possibility of connecting that Nakasongola, Bale, Kamuli to Palisa and eventually to Mbali. Thank you.
Prime Minister.
Right Honourable Speaker, those are good points. The shortest route to the north from the center, I think all of us are interested in it, and I don't see the Minister of Works here, but definitely with this discovery, we will be able to ask the Minister of Works to explore this shortest connection which has been ignored in the past. Second point, another route to the east. Again, this requires further exploration and study, so that if there is a positive response from the studies, government can take the requisite action.
Thank
you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Prime Minister, we have had a serious drought in Western Uganda, and as a result, people have realized that tree planting is very important. As of today, I have enormous requests for tree seedlings from our people, but I cannot trace any viable quantities of tree seedlings. What can we do as government? What government plans are in place to ensure that we provide the communities with the tree seedlings enough to cover the available areas? Secondly, what is the state of the tree fund? I thank you.
Maybe let me just add to Mugabirano, can we know the National Tree Planting Day? Prime Minister, but you can answer.
Yes, I agree with the Right Honourable Speaker and Ndunga Birano. Tree planting is very important. We must do it. And in fact, government will have to spend some money specifically to assist people with seedlings. At the moment, the expenditure on seedlings has been focusing on perennial crops, coffee, tea, cocoa. But I think this point you have raised is a valid point. Nevertheless, I would want to encourage colleagues that we can really generate seed beds ourselves and the population, instead of always relying on the center to be able to provide. So there are some tree seedlings that we should locally, perhaps using our forest officers and other people, be able to encourage the population to produce so that that can accelerate tree planting. On the question of tree planting, I know the minister responsible has been considering this matter, but it is right that Parliament and the country should be informed about this. So I'll ask the minister responsible for forests, for environment, water, to make a statement on the matter.
Thank you. Now, honourable members, we have exceeded the 45 minutes, but in that time we have only asked 25 questions. We borrowed this from the House of Commons, but they used 45 minutes and asked 60 questions, and they are all answered. Problem is that we have preambles, we first build the foundation, then you take 5 minutes. So I want to ask the clerk to upload the question time of the Prime Minister today. Send it to the members' iPads so that they can see how fast they act, so that we reduce the preamble and have members ask questions. Because you submit 5 minutes, you're taking other people's time. So I want the clerk to send today's question time in the House of Commons to the members' iPads so that they can see how they work. It will help us and give more members an opportunity. Let's go back to item
6.
Let's go back to 4B. Do you want to comment on his answers? Okay, good proposition.
Thank you so much, Right Honourable Speaker, and the Right Honourable Prime Minister for laboring to inform the country on using the members' question time, the members' questions. But Right Honourable Speaker, there are so many issues that keep coming here during the Prime Minister's question time. It is unfortunate that the Prime Minister just casually responds to matters and says, yeah, the minister responsible should take charge, the minister responsible should take charge, and we see no ministers coming to respond to these questions. I don't know how long members of Parliament will keep airing out their views, concerns from the public, and nobody seems to be taking serious interest in these matters. May I just take this opportunity to remind the Prime Minister that while we were closing Parliament, during the Prime Minister's question time on the 5th of October, there are so many undertakings, Right Honourable Prime Minister, that you assured us that on coming back from recess, the responsible ministers would be briefing Parliament about. And I'm not surprised that some of those questions are still coming back because members are asking for answers. The issue that was raised by the Honourable PP about ICC, it was one of the issues that we raised here. And you said, look, we are coming up with a statement. Today, it is the same question that has been asked, still a statement. The issue was, we are considering withdrawing from ICC. But we have cases there. What will be the fate of the cases that we took there and the people that are there, when as a country, we are pulling out from the same court? You said we would have a brief. I still want to remind you that still during the same day, Ugandans wanted to know the criteria
for coming up with a national candidate on these international delegations. And I gave a very elaborate background to that matter, Right Honorable Prime Minister. You committed the minister in charge to come and give Ugandans information in regard to the issue. We are not hearing anybody coming up with any statement. There was an issue regarding our performance at AGOA and the strategic goals of Uganda so that Ugandans can benefit from the AGOA. You said, I'm going to tell the minister to come and brief Ugandans on how we are doing as a country in regard to AGOA and the specific strategic goals that Uganda can attain from AGOA. So, some of these issues break the spirit of members to keep asking questions. A member asked here a very serious issue, Right Honorable Speaker, something to do with the economy when it comes to interest rates. And we just took it and brushed it and left it to go. We don't know that the exchange rate, the higher it goes, Right Honorable Prime Minister, it has an implication on the economy. It has an implication on the welfare of your people. It has an implication on the way of life of our people. You just said the economy is healthy. And yet everybody is aware that as a country, we are really not doing well. I'm not surprised that that's why there is an outcry in the whole population of people dying of hunger. We needed something better. At least a statement telling us what measures we are doing as a country to ensure that we avert the situation of interest rates. We also asked, and I think this would be able to help us to answer the question of the disasters that we are having and therefore the meager resources that we have. You even committed government to come up with a statement on the status of the contagious fund. Because if we got this status of the contagious fund, Right Honorable Speaker, then we would be in position to know whether as a country, contagious fund, yes, we would be able to know as a country whether we are able to respond to the disasters that we are having. Look at the disaster, the famine disaster that we are having as a country. I saw many people in Isinjiro now calling the posho that was being given the Echweru posho, the Echweru cup of posho. They decided to even go at sub-county headquarters to keep it there, to cook it there and eat it from there. We are having cries from Teso, cries from North, cries from other parts of the West. As a country, how are we prepared? And this information, the Prime Minister said, you know, we are coming with this information as we come from recess. We have waited. We thought we would now see these coming up as the first issues to welcome us from recess, apart from the borrowing that we are still going along with. Right Honorable Speaker and the honorable colleagues, the issue of the Electoral Commission is not something that we just have to talk about and we end. The Prime Minister has just assured us and has been assuring us that by January we shall be having elections of the LOC1 chairpersons. Chigundu and his commission have taken 14 years without fixing the issue of elections of LOC1 chairpersons. Their term is expiring tomorrow. For now, we don't have any commissioner. I don't know how ready we shall be with a commission which is really not yet in place, and you think we are fixing it tomorrow or the other day, then they carry out elections of LOC1 chairpersons in January. Some of us here are in courts with pending election cases, and we are expecting by elections very soon. Who is going to save the country in ensuring that these elections are carried out in a free and fair atmosphere? With a commission that will just be appointed maybe 3 days to an election. These are issues that as a country we should look at. When people go into an election with an electoral commission that is not fully prepared, and they mess around with an election, there are people who take it as a matter of life and death. We may see chaos coming out of this. So as a country, let Ugandans know how this electoral commission will be put in place and whether this time we are going to see a real independent electoral commission. Right Honorable Speaker, maybe in summary, the other issue is the issue that the Honorable Regan Okumu raised, the issue to do with service delivery and the human resource that we have at our local governments. As a government, we are hurrying to create more administrative units that are sucking a lot of money from government, and therefore little is concentrated on service delivery. If we think as a country we don't have enough resources to equip the few districts that we have, I'll call them few, the few districts that we have, why are we hurrying to create more when we can't even equip the ones that we have in terms of human resource? Because human resource has a direct bearing on service delivery. May I therefore ask that for purposes of giving our people real services, we go slow on creating more administrative units, because the more administrative units we create, increase the cost of administration and therefore impacts on the cost of service delivery. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the President for his campaign for improved methods of farming in terms of irrigation. I want to thank him for that campaign. But as a country, as we go towards becoming a middle-income country, Right Honorable Speaker,
but Honorable Leader of Opposition.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure really what's going on, because you are, I don't know whether you are opening so that the Prime Minister can answer other questions.
I'm just wrapping up these issues.
No.
Summing them up, Right Honorable Speaker.
And then what? Then he'll come back and speak to them?
So that he can take more interest in them, knowing that really these are matters of serious importance.
Please conclude.
Like I said at the beginning, that there are matters that really were very serious and of serious nature, but were just seen to be swept around the carpet. I would like to say, Right Honorable Speaker, that I'm thanking the President for that campaign. But as we go towards the middle-income economy, I wonder whether the jerrycan irrigation scheme is the one that will take the 72% of the people who are employed by agriculture to a middle-income economy. We would be talking about mechanizing of agriculture, so that we really talk about modernization of agriculture. This has been a plan of government, plan for the modernization of agriculture. But in advancing the plan for modernization of agriculture, we are still going back towards the Stone Age era. I really don't know whether as a country we are really going to save our population with the jerrycan irrigation scheme, and therefore I would like to advise the Prime Minister to talk to His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda to reconsider the position of still using irrigation through jerrycans, and possibly consider more of using our endowed natural resources that we have, the rivers, to create small-scale irrigation schemes that can help our people to get out of poverty. I want to thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. To those of you who were asking whether I am also asking a Prime Minister, you go and read Rule 34.5. It will tell you under which circumstance I rose to speak on these matters. I want to thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and the Right Honorable Prime Minister. Thank you.
Honourable members, you want to come back? Okay, before the Prime Minister comes, I just want for the record to inform the country that there is one surviving member of the Electoral Commission. So it's not entirely empty, and she's a lady, for the record.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker, for that very timely information on the Electoral Commission. Now, Right Honourable Speaker, I just wanted to make a few comments on what my sister, the leader of the opposition, has said. I do not think it is fair to castigate the honourable ministers for not having responded to issues I talked about as we were going to recess. because we reopened only yesterday. And the honorable ministers will be coming to respond to the issues as we promised. Number two, the issue of ICC, I have nothing to add because I would like an authoritative statement from the Attorney General of Uganda, who is out of the country at the moment. Point number 3, President Museveni has been championing modernization of agriculture and transformation. You very well know Mubuku in Kasese district. Yeah, Mubuku is one of the best irrigation schemes. I thought my sister would start with that as a modern way of irrigation. And my sister goes to the jerrycan my foot. So let's be fair, let's be objective when we are talking about these matters. And by the way, President Museveni in Kabale showed the whole country solar-powered irrigation by the peasants. Yes, that is true. And more bulk water pumping, more solar irrigation schemes are coming, championed by government and by the president. This is Kisanja hakuna mchezo.
Clarification, Mr. Prime Minister.
This is transformation.
Clarification, Mr. Prime Minister.
Then the issue of contingency fund.
Clarification, Mr. Prime Minister.
On the issue of contingency fund, Right Honorable Speaker, this budget, as you very well know, did not provide for contingency funding. And as a result, there has been a shortage of resources to purchase emergency food. However, government will ensure, and Parliament should ensure, that this coming budget contingency fund is part and parcel of our budget. The last couple of comments, I did not take lightly the issue of exchange, rate of exchange. The rate of exchange is very important, but I didn't think I should bother this August House with another long statement after the Honorable Minister responsible for finance yesterday spent so much time. Let me also say this, that the exchange rate really is just a window which tells us what is happening in the economy. So I think we should not spend too much time repeating information that has already been given. Service delivery. The points were taken, and as I said, we'll stick to ensuring better and better service delivery. Finally, Chigundu, I think, has done good work with his team. They have retired now. The question of fixing LC1 election is not their problem because it was a budgetary matter. And now we have the funds ready. So January, the new electoral commission with the old member remaining on the electoral commission will be able to sort out those matters. But let's give credit where it is due. And as I said, I expected my sister, leader of the opposition, who has one of the best modern irrigation schemes in the country, to have come with that as the example of what government is doing.
Thank you. Let's go back to item 4B. Minister for Lands.
Item 4B.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, from the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, I beg to lay on the table the Uganda National Housing Policy, May 2016. I lay on the table.
No members sent to the Committee of Physical Infrastructure, Land, Physical Infrastructure for perusal and report back. Item 6.
Item 6, motion for presentation, consideration, and adoption for the report of the Sectoral Committee on Natural Resources on the sand mining in Kalungu, Mpiji, and Wakiso districts.
Honorable Chair.
Right Honorable Speaker, I wish to take the opportunity on behalf of my Committee on Natural Resources to present a report that emanated from the hard work we had to undertake during the recess as directed by your office with regard to concerns of this House on the issue of sand mining in the areas as mentioned earlier on. Right Honorable Speaker, prior to 2010, as a matter of introduction, prior to 2010, sand mining in Uganda was largely on small scale and was characterized by use of rudimentary tools such as spades, hoes, wheelbarrows, etc. for its extraction. However, the period between 2005 and 2010 has witnessed a 10-fold increase in construction activities, hence a higher demand for sand. As a result, Madam Chairperson, Madam Right Honourable Speaker, sand mining has increased in areas such as Ruwero wetland, and the use of advanced technology has been on the rise in the wetland. The plenary sitting of the 18th of August 2016 noted with concern some of the negative consequences of the increased sand mining activity, such as the destruction of the breeding and spawning grounds of fishes that had resulted into decline of stocks and ultimately affecting the country's fish exports and environmental degradation of wetlands, among other issues. Madam Speaker, you did refer the matter to the committee for further investigations, and that pursuant to Rule 14E and 117A and E of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament, the Committee on Natural Resources therefore presents this report as a summary of its findings and recommendation to the House for consideration. I will not go into details of the scope of the work. You all have copies on your iPads. I will go maybe to, I'll skip that one of the scope. I'll go to sand mining in wetlands. It was also of concern that a number of investors owned land titles in Ruwero wetland, which title owners is prohibited in the country. The number of investors mining sand and their identity remained unclear. Also noted were the discrepancies in issuance of the titles, and further to that, it was alleged that locals do not easily obtain land titles as compared to foreigners, in this case, suspected to be Chinese nationals. So it is very hard to get a land title there unless you are maybe a Chinese or something like that. That's what. C, environmental degradation and reduction of fish stocks in Lake Victoria. As a result of the methods used in extracting the sand, members reported that the topography of Ruwero had been distorted and that mining had caused the formation of open pits. The degradation of wetlands ultimately resulted into reduced fish stocks in Lake Victoria, since the wetlands are breeding grounds for fish. And D, members inquired whether sand mining was being carried out by Ugandans or foreigners. They further inquired if such investors had indeed acquired licenses to come and mine sand, and whether they had paid the $100,000 which they are supposed to deposit as investors in the country. They further inquired if there was any mechanism in place to ring-fence sand mining to be a preserve for Ugandans. E, eventual use of sand. There was concern raised whether there was any sand being exported for glass manufacturing, despite the public debate on limiting exportation of minerals without any value addition. It should, however, be noted that although there were other concerns raised, especially on fish, this committee did not investigate them since they are outside its jurisdiction. The terms of reference was as follows. In line with the issues raised in the House, the committee was directed to investigate the above allegations and report back to the House in October 2016. The committee therefore set the following as its terms of reference in order to execute this assignment. If you don't mind, I will skip those ones, but
yes,
I think it's
members
important.
Can read it.
I read them.
No, members can read it.
Members can read that one. You can read that one. Terms of reference, they are A, B, C, D, and E. Then also the methodology, you can also read that one. It's clear what we had to go through. But it is also important to note that amongst all these other methods we used, we had also consultative meetings which were also held with the following stakeholders: Abomugisha Peter, Aqua World, Birungi Simpson, Capital Estates, Karungu District Local Government, Rukaya Sand Dealers, Rukaya Town Council, Mango Tree Group Limited, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Lands and Urban Development, Mpigi District Local Government, National Environmental Management Authority, National Planning Authority, Seroma Limited, Tesco Industries, and Uganda Investment Authority. All those, plus of course Uganda Revenue Authority, Wakiso District Local Government, and then Zong Industries Limited. We had limitations which are clearly put there. I will also now take you to number 2, background on sand mining in Uganda. It's a historical perspective of how sand mining has been done in this country. You can see that one, you can read that one yourselves. And I will go now to 2.1 areas of focus. In this investigation, honorable members, as articulated in terms of reference, emphasis was placed on sand mining in Ruwera wetland and around Lake Victoria, and within Lake Victoria itself. 2.1, sand mining in Ruwera wetland. Ruwera wetland is a permanently water-lodged area that forms part of the Greater Katonga wetland system bordering River Katonga and Lake Victoria, and is located in the districts of Mpigi and Kalungu. At an altitude of 1,158 meters above sea level, the wetland has an area of about 2,237 square kilometers and drains directly into Lake Victoria. The Kampala-Masaka Highway crosses through the wetland and is the main access route to the western region, where the wetland where the sand mining is currently taking place. The sand in the wetland developed on sediments deposited more than 60 million years ago. Below it are a couple of profiles derived from historical depositions that accompanied changes in the lake's area over the years since its creation. The most recent activity is traced in 1962, when Lake Victoria levels rose by 4 meters, resulting into inundation and deposition of large deposits of sand from the lake into Ruwera wetland. Similar actions are forecast in 2022. Although sand mining had been carried out in the wetland on artisanal or small scale for more than 30 years, the sand borrow pits were until 1997 restored by an inundation following the El Nino rains of that year. In the past, sand miners used rudimentary tools such as, of course, spades, as I had already indicated. However, in the recent past, sand mining technology has been upgraded to use of excavators and heavy machinery. The technology upgrade was driven by increased demand for sand for construction industry, which made sand mining a very commercial and lucrative undertaking. From the year 2013, sand miners started using sophisticated technologies, as earlier indicated, particularly dredgers that extract massive volumes of sand in a short period of time. Just one scoop fills a lorry and it runs on your roads, on our roads. Sand mining within Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is Africa's largest freshwater lake with a surface area of about 69,000 square kilometers. It is a major economic resource that is crucial for development of agriculture, fisheries, tourism, trade, transport, and communications, water, energy, and industry. The Lake Victoria Basin in Uganda has many wetland systems. These include, but not limited to, Kirinya Wetland System, Nachivubo Wetland, Kinawataka Wetland, River Ruiz Wetlands System, Lake Mburo Nachivale Wetland System, Lake Wamara Wetland System, River Katonga Wetland System, Lake Kijanibarora Bukora Wetland System, Sango Bay Musambwa Island, Kagera Wetland System, Nabajuzi Nakaiba Wetland System, among others. The wetlands in the Lake Victoria Basin possess a lot of biodiversity, which is a major source of tourism attraction, purifies effluent discharges before it enters the lake, have fertile soils that are a major cause of encroachment, and lately possesses commercial sand deposits. In the past, sand was, of course, mined mainly at its shorelines, but with advancement of technology and introduction of dredgers, sand mining is now being undertaken within the lake directly, as witnessed around Bukasa in Wakiso district, just a few miles from here. Best sand mining practices. Some of the best sand mining practices that promote sustainable use of sand resources include: 1, conducting EAI environmental assessments, display of EIA certificates at site, undertaking regular environmental audits, and all those that you can see. There are quite a number. 3, committee findings and recommendations. The committee made observations that are explained under their respective terms of reference. Where appropriate, recommendations are also made. Under terms of reference number 1, that is investigation into the status of sand mining in Ruwera wetland, legality of operations, ownership of titles, and nationality of persons involved. Under this TOR, the committee sought to establish the number of companies mining sand within Ruwera wetland, nationality of persons involved in this activity, and whether indeed miners held land titles within the wetlands, and also whether the companies carrying out sand mining had fulfilled the necessary requirements authorizing the mining of sand, and if procedures for award of permits, licenses, and addenda were adhered to. The committee consequently finds and recommends as follows. On status of sand mining in Ruwera wetland. According to the ministerial policy statement delivered by the Minister of State for Environment on the 23rd of August 2016, records from the sites visited by the committee, additional documents submitted by NEMA on the 3rd of November 2016, and information presented by the district local government leaders, it was established that Ruwera wetland has at least 24 sand mining sites as highlighted under Annex 2. According to NEMA's statement of 3rd of November 2016, of all these sites, only 4, namely registered trustees of Masaka Diocese, River Katonga Investment Limited, Seroma Limited, and Pakson Hong Kong Investment Limited have valid permits. And 2, namely Aqua World and Capital Estates, have been issued with the restoration orders. 7 of them, namely Virunji Simpson, that is in Kamaliba village, Birunji Simpson again in Nabyeyanga village, He Shedu Company Limited, DMW Uganda Limited, Zhou Yuan, Lukaya Sand Miners, and Yu Jingshu have had their activities halted. And one of Tesco Industries' permit has also been cancelled, but later waived. 3 sites, namely Abomugisha Peter, Zongo Industries, and Mulongo Kato, have completely no permits, while the status of the 7 remaining sites are unknown. This therefore implies that the wetland has both sand miners regulated by NEMA, and the majority of them are very illegal sand miners. The current situation in Ruera wetland also reveals that there are miners excavating sand under the guise of fish farming. These include Aqua World Uganda Limited and Capital Estates. Others, such as Birungi Simpson, Seroma Limited, were all issued permits to extract sand, after which the ponds would be used for fish farming. They were used, that you extract sand, after which these pits will fill up with water again, then you start fish farming. That was what they had said. The committee notes that although the miners had carried out environmental impact assessments, the companies still have to obtain permits from MAIF, that is Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, under Rule 14.1 of the Fish Aquaculture Rules of 2003, which clearly provides that no person, institution, organization or establishment shall engage in fish breeding without a permit issued by the Chief Fisheries Officer. Although there exists provisional letter permitting Aqua World to undertake fish pond and cage production in Ruera, this letter dated 6 of February 2014 for a period of 1 year, and is therefore currently, much as they have that letter, but currently it is invalid. Monitoring reports by MAIF indicate unsuitability of the site, inexperience of personnel, among a host of other shortcomings on the Aqua World site. Capital Estates possesses a certificate issued on the 28th of September 2016, a day before the committee's visit. I think they had learned of our visit in one way or another, and they acquired the license. A certificate, I don't know how. This document was initially not submitted to the committee, which casts doubt on its authenticity. Furthermore, the ministry did not provide evidence of the application process for this permit, and the site doesn't appear in any of its monitoring reports, and the list that was submitted to the committee on the 28th of October 2016 contains companies which were issued certificates before the date expired. For example, Company Forte Bunakanda Cage Fish Farming Project, whose certificate was issued on 12 November 2016. There is an attachment, and this therefore raises issues of authenticity of this list. There is a lot of doubt and cloud around those certificates. While appearing before the committee, MAIF stated that possession of a wetland permit from NEMA does not exempt prospective commercial fish farmers from obtaining a fish farming permit issued by MAIF. Rather, this is treated as evidence of having carried out an environmental impact assessment, which is a requirement for obtaining a permit for commercial fish farming. The Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries further advised that the Ruera wetland was completely unsuitable for fish farming because of encumbrances in its drainage, which hinder easy flow of water out of ponds, and the fact that sand mining interferes with fish ecology. This therefore implies that the fish farming in Ruera should not be permitted by MAIF after all. However, to the committee's dismay, the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries went ahead and issued fish farming permits to Capital Estate and Aqua World Uganda Limited. Recommendations. The committee recommends that the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries should cancel the fish farming permits issued to Aqua World Uganda Limited and Capital Estates with immediate effect. It's completely against what they themselves told us and admitted that Ruera wetland is not suitable for both sand mining and also fish farming. nationality of sand miners. It was established that sand mining in Ruera wetland was being undertaken by both Ugandan and foreign investors. Out of the 11 sites visited by the committee, only 4 companies belonged to non-Ugandans. These were Zong Industries, Hasho Du, Lukaya Sand Dealers, and Mango Tree Investments. Ownership of land titles within the wetland. Article 237(2)(b) of the Constitution of Uganda provides that government or a local government shall hold in trust for the people and protect natural lakes, rivers, groundwater, natural ponds, natural streams, wetlands, forest reserves, national parks, and any other land reserved for ecological and touristic purposes for the common good of the citizens of Uganda. The Constitution under Article 237(2)(b) created a public trust over renewable resources such as natural lakes, rivers, and wetlands, vesting them in the state to hold and protect for the common good of all citizens of this country. However, the committee established that the companies and individuals as listed here below possessed land titles issued after 1995 in Ruera wetland. The list is there, but the names are Zong Industries Limited, area 59.4 hectares, Seroma Limited, 199 hectares, John Sebalamu, 256 hectares, 1 square mile that is, Rukaya Sand Dealers, 72.9 hectares, Samuel Kakande, Freehold Register, 116.7 hectares, yes, Tesco Industries, 40.5 hectares, and Peter Bomugisha is the smallest landholder there, 14.8 hectares. Section, Madam Speaker, Section 44(6) of the Land Act, Cap 227, explicitly restricts government or any local government to lease out or otherwise alienate any natural resource. It is further important to note that the Solicitor General has opined that 1, the continued issuance of certificate of land titles in wetlands by the Uganda Land Commission, Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development, and District Land Boards is illegal as it is contrary to the Article 237(2)(b) of the Constitution, Section 44(b) of the Land Act, and Statutory Instrument Number 153/3 of the National Environmental Management Act. B. The continued surveying and allocation of plots in wetlands, riverbanks, and lake shores is illegal, as it is also contrary to the National Environmental Wetlands, Riverbanks, Lake Shores Management Regulations Number 153/5. C. The environmental impact assessment certificates that have been issued in wetlands illegally can be cancelled by the Executive Director of NEMA. D. Government is not obliged to pay compensation for land titles in wetlands issued after the 1995 Constitution, as they have been issued illegally contrary to Article 237(2)(b) of the Constitution and Section 44(1) and 4 of the Land Act. The Commissioner for Land Registration is authorized to cancel land titles issued in error, illegally, or wrongfully issued. Despite this advice, the Uganda Land Commission and District Land Boards have consistently perpetuated an illegality with impunity issuing land titles in wetlands. While appearing before the committee, the Minister of Lands informed the committee that 1. Cabinet had approved operating guidelines and criteria that will be used in the cancellation process, as well as need to set up a wetland fund. The criteria approved by the Policy Committee on the Environment includes the following. 1. The certificates proposed for cancellation should have been issued after 1995. 2. Certificates of title for cancellation should include those arising from subdivisions of the original, that is the motherland titles, created after 1995. Those straddling both wetlands or open water bodies, those straddling both dry land and open water, and those straddling both dry land and wetland. B, the ministry awaits the development of a wetland atlas in the entire country. However, the committee notes that the wetland atlas published in 2015 to guide the process covers only Kampala, Mukono, and Wakiso districts, and that's what was published. Therefore, when the consolidation exercise commences, it will not cover the entire country because most of it is not yet mapped under that atlas, wetland atlas. The committee further observed that some of the leaseholders had violated conditions of the leases and had not applied for change of land use. For instance, the land leased to Mr. John Sevalamu was intended for cattle ranching, while land belonging to Pastor Samuel Kakan was restricted to farming, both of which are now used for sand mining under the guise of fish farming. Recommendation. The Commissioner, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the Commissioner Land Administration should cancel the titles issued in the Luera wetland, and the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development should report to Parliament within 3 weeks on the progress of the cancellation of these titles. Legality of operations. Adherence to activities in the Certificate of Approval of Environmental Impact Assessment. Right Honorable Speaker, the committee noted that Aqua World Uganda Limited was issued a Certificate of Approval of Environmental Impact Assessment by NEMA to establish fish cages, but instead illegally engaged in commercial sand mining. However, after receipt of environmental impact notices and seeking of guidance from NEMA, the company obtained a permit for sand mining. But after all, it had already done what it had wanted to do. Zongs Industries Limited was also issued with a Certificate of Approval of Environmental Impact Assessment for sand mining. As part of the conditions of approval, particularly paragraph 103, the company was expected to apply for and obtain a wetland resource user permit from NEMA, so as to carry out commercial sand mining in the Katonga wetland system. However, the company lacked a wetland permit and was therefore illegally mining sand. Huge amounts of sand have so far been extracted. Recommendation. Madam Speaker, honorable colleagues, the committee wishes to recommend as follows: that NEMA should halt sand mining activities being undertaken without Certificate of Approval of Environmental Impact Assessment, and also institute legal actions against them, those companies, immediately. Abuse of sand mining permits issued by NEMA. The committee established that NEMA regulated 14 sand miners in Ruera wetland through issuance of wetland resource user permits, and under Annex 2 you'll see that one, each costing a meager 100,000 Uganda shillings. Salient genetic conditions contained in the wetland user permits issued by NEMA to sand miners in Ruera wetland included but not limited to: 1, restoration of sand borrow pits, no sale of wet sand, mining at least 200 meters from Kampala Masaka Highway, both sides, seeking authorization from UNRA for connecting feeder roads to Kampala Masaka Highway, E, mining at least 200 meters from the protected zone of Lake Victoria, that one. And F, and yes, permit may be withdrawn or cancelled when conditions are violated. However, the committee found out that most companies had violated their permit conditions. They included the following: He Shadu Company Limited. The committee found out the following on this company. 1, a number of sand borrow pits were not restored, raising safety risks, for they were filled with water and overgrown floating weeds. You wouldn't even recognize that there was water if you are not careful. No EIA was undertaken for its dredger. The next page, of course, depicts the colored pictures, and they have been uploaded on your iPads. They come out clearly when you look at them in color. And B, Capital Estates. The company was established fish ponds within 200 meters of Lake Victoria protected zone. In other words, it flouted that other regulation of having no activity within a protection zone of 200 meters from the shoreline. It also erected permanent structures in the wetland. They are there, visible there. They also transported wet sand contrary to the condition in the permit, of course, risking the life of the road. C, Lukaya Sand Dealers. The company, one, was mining sand within 200 meters from Kampala Masaka Road, risking the safety of the road, weakening the stability of the road and making it prone to flooding. Anytime it rains, water just flows almost within the road. You are part and parcel of river of the water system in that wetland when it rains. They had also encroached on the road buffer zone by 20 meters. They are about to dig under the road, looking for sand. They had encroached on the road buffer zone by 20 meters. They were transporting wet sand also. They had not restored the sand borrow pits, and they did not undertake an EIA for its dredger. D is Birungi Simpson site. The committee found out that the sand mining is taking place within 247 meters of Lake Victoria protected zone. The company is transporting wet sand. Fairing trucks sand have made community roads impassable, contrary to condition 2122 in one of its permits. While the NEMA permit RBLSWT 381 under condition 3 required that the sand pits excavated for sand be transformed into fish ponds within 2 years from date of issuance of permit. There was no such evidence of such undertaking, given that MAIF had not yet approved the project. Suitability of site for fish farming had not yet been ascertained, and ponds were overgrown with vegetation due to stagnant water at site. E, Aqua World. The committee found out that the site had open pits within the 200 meters of Lake Victoria protected zone. There was a non-waterborne toilet, pit latrine in a borrow pit. The fish farming permit was violated because the company is now engaged in commercial sand mining activities instead of fish farming. Sand mining is being undertaken within 200 meters from Kampala Masaka Highway, weakening the stability of the road and also making it prone to flooding. The company has encroached on road buffer zone by 140 meters. The site had no unrestored land borrow pits. They were all open. Seroma Limited. The committee found that sand mining activities are taking place with open and unstored sand borrow pits. The company installed a dredger without undertaking an EIA for the equipment. The committee also noted that Peter Abomogisha and Zong Industries Limited were mining sand illegally without wetland user permits. The committee also noted that among all companies that had failed to comply with their permit conditions, only Tasco Industries was sanctioned by having its permit cancelled. However, the permit's cancellation has since been waived pending compliance to NEMA directives as agreed in a meeting between NEMA and Tesco Industries. The meeting was held on 9th of November 2015. NEMA also issued notices to show cause why permits may not be cancelled to Lukaya Sand Dealers, Hasho Duo Company Limited, and Zuyu Yan. Through the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, criminal proceedings were instituted against 17 persons for violating conditions of their permits and dredging Ruera wetland. Recommendations. Madam Speaker, the committee wishes to recommend as follows.
1. NEMA should cancel all permits whose conditions have been violated by companies or individuals as indicated above. B. NEMA should issue restoration orders to these companies and ensure enforcement of these orders within 1 month by a way of procedure. Because immediately after that, if they fail, NEMA will have to do it, but at the cost of those people, of the company. C. NEMA should, through the Ministry of Water and Environment, report to Parliament on the progress of the restorations within 3 months of all those other areas. D. NEMA should institute legal sanctions against all companies, individuals who have violated the conditions of the permits as provided for in the National Environmental Act and National Environmental Wetlands, Riverbanks and Lake Shores Management Regulations. Madam Right Honourable Speaker, irregular issuance of addenda to wetland user permits. The committee noted with concern that NEMA irregularly issued addendums all variations to Aqua World Uganda Limited and Seroma Limited wetland user permits, permitting without prior environmental audit and subsequent environmental impact assessment to inform the variance in permit conditions. That is NEMA. The committee observed that Aqua World Uganda Limited on 26th of July 2016 wrote to NEMA seeking guidance on how to mine sand on its site given the change in interest from fish farming. NEMA, instead of granting guidance on how to acquire a sand mining permit, issued the company with an addendum permitting sand mining on 23rd August 2016 without prior environmental audit and subsequent environmental impact assessment to inform the variance in the area permit conditions. The addendum is valid until 12th of September 2017. They asked for guidance, and instead of a guidance on what to do, NEMA simply just said, you don't need a guidance, just start. It should be noted that the addendum was issued 23 days after seeking of guidance on 15 days after the issue of an environmental impact notice. The time was insufficient to undertake comprehensive assessments and consultations to inform the issuance of an addendum. The committee further noted that NEMA had issued an addendum to Seroma Limited sand mining permit issued on 14th of June 2016, permitting use of dredging machines. This was done without prior assessment of extraction capacity of the machines and whether they are likely to have any adverse impacts on the wetland. The committee observed that the machines were already installed on site. The addendum was issued on 22nd July 2016, only 5 weeks after issuance of the permit, and is valid until 14th of June 2017. Recommendations, Right Honourable Speaker. The committee wishes to recommend as follows. A. NEMA should with immediate effect stop issuing addendums to wetland or lake user permits without prior independent environmental impact assessment or environmental audit for alternative equipment or activities. B. NEMA should ensure that Aqua World Uganda Limited and Seroma Limited undertake independent environmental impact assessment for sand mining and the dredging equipment respectively, and report back to the committee within 3 months from the date of this report. 3. Parliament should pass a resolution strongly condemning the NEMA. I repeat that. C. Parliament should pass a resolution strongly condemning the NEMA for its failure to effectively carry out its mandate as stipulated under Article 245 of the Constitution and Section 5 and 6 of the National Environmental Act, Cap 153. Inadequate scrutiny of sand mining methods. 2 major mining methods were observed in the mining sites visited by the committee. These included the following. 1. Dry pit mining. Pits were excavated on dry wetland beds with bulldozers and loaders. B. Wet pit mining. Hydraulic sand extraction units and bulldozers were used to extract sand from below the water table. You can see those photographs. If they're in color, they bring it out very, very well. The committee further observed that sand mining technology was used without adequate scrutiny by NEMA. This poses the risk of extracting sand beyond its regeneration capacity. Recommendation. Madam Speaker, honorable colleagues, the committee would like to make the following recommendations. 1. Effective December 2016, NEMA should ensure that sand miners undertake independent assessment and acquire certification of sand mining technology. B. NEMA should develop capacity to guide on appropriate sand mining methods. Under terms of reference number 2, we are about to finish. Investigation into the status of sand mining in Lake Victoria, legality of operations, and nationalities of persons involved. Right Honourable Speaker, the committee sought to find out whether there was any sand mining taking place within Lake Victoria, nationalities of persons involved, and the legality of these persons, of these operations. The committee found out the following. 1. Status of sand mining in Lake Victoria. Sand mining within water bodies is relatively new in Uganda. It is largely being spearheaded in Lake Victoria by Mango Tree Group Company Limited, a company owned by Chinese nationals. Although Mango Tree Group had been issued with a license to build a shipyard, the company is now engaged in sand mining under the guise of clearing Lake Victoria's waterways. The figure above illustrates what all these figures can illustrate an illustration. 2. Adherence to activities in the Certificate of Approval of Environmental Impact Assessment. Mango Tree Group Limited was issued with the Certificate of Approval of Environmental Impact Assessment for shipbuilding activities and shipyard. While purportedly on test runs, the company's ship caught fire and was damaged, but it did not inform NEMA of any malfunction as required under paragraph 5, Roman 33 of their Certificate of Approval of Environmental Impact Assessment. The committee noted that the company has never received approval and certification for its environmental impact assessment for sand mining. The committee was informed by NEMA that this application was still under review, because for them, it's not a matter of mining, at least in a wetland, directly in the lake. Secondly, the company had no permit to use the lake and was illegally mining sand in Lake Victoria under the pretext of clearing the navigation route from Bukasa to Port Bell. Recommendation, Right Honourable Speaker. A. The Minister of Water and Environment should stop sand mining in water bodies with immediate effect until NEMA issues guidelines. Within. B. NEMA should institute legal sanctions with immediate effect against Mango Tree Limited as provided for under the National Environmental Management Act and Regulation 36 and 37 of the National Environmental Wetlands, Riverbanks and Lakes Management Regulation 2000 of 2000. Illegal dredging of sand in Lake Victoria. Right Honourable Speaker, on 4th of May 2016, the Minister of Water and Environment issued a river dredging license under Section 4 of the Rivers Act 1907 to Mango Tree. To dredge the shores of Lake Victoria. The committee observed that the Rivers Act does not apply to lakes, but rather to rivers. Aswa, Kafu, Kagera, Katonga, Muyanja, Nairi, Semlik, Seziwa, and any other that may be added to the 5th schedule of the Act. He went ahead and issued that applied the Rivers Act on Lake Victoria. But that was a minister, I don't know. Recommendation, the Minister of Water and Environment should with immediate effect revoke the river dredging license issued to Mango Tree Group Limited. That was our recommendation. Under terms of reference 3, this one is on investigation into sand mining encroaching on Chewaga Central Forest Reserve. The committee observed that sand mining being undertaken in Kitinda village, Katabi sub-county, had encroached on Chewaga Central Forest Reserve in Wakiso district. The site belongs to Aka and Bino Fish Farming Project, which was permitted to undertake fish farming. The company was engaged in illegal activities that it lacked a wetland user permit to mine sand. The project was a cause of nuisance to residents for vibrations from huge trucks ferrying sand and damaged access roads, cracked houses and walls as reported in the complaints document that was submitted to the Wakiso District Local Government on the 22nd of August 2011. Following violation of conditions in the permit visa sand mining rather than fish farming and encroachment on Chewaga Central Forest Reserve, NEMA cancelled the project certificate of approval of environment impact assessment, but of course after the huge damage had been done. On further inspection of the site, the committee noted that some of the ponds that had been dug for fish were now being backfilled with maram, as evidence in those pictures you can see, the photographs. Recommendation. Right Honourable Speaker, would like to recommend as follows. 1. That National Forest Authority should issue restoration orders to Aka and Bino fish farming and report to Parliament within 1 month. B. NEMA should institute legal sanctions with immediate effect against the Aka and Bino fish farming project as provided for in the National Environmental Act and Resolution 3637 of the National Environmental Wetlands, River Banks and Lake Shores Management Regulations of 2000. Terms of reference number 4, establishing measures for regulation and management of sand mining in Uganda. Following the growth, Right Honourable Speaker, following the growth of the construction industry in Uganda, demand for sand arose, attracting a number of local and foreign investors into sand mining. This necessitates guidelines, regulations, coordination of lead agencies, routine monitoring, enforcement and physical planning. Below are the findings and recommendations regarding regulation and management of sand mining in Uganda. 1. Sand mining regulations. Article 2445 of the Constitution of Uganda provides that sand commonly used for building or similar purposes is not a mineral. The Constitution, however, mandates Parliament in Article 2446 to regulate the exploitation of any substance excluded from the definition of a mineral when exploited for commercial purposes. In accordance with Article 2446, Parliament passed the Mining Act of 2003, which clearly categorizes sand into two. 1, as a building mineral, if it is mined by a person from land owned or lawfully occupied by him or her for his or her own domestic use in Uganda for building, or mined by a person for his or her own use for road making her own. And B, as an industrial mineral if it is commercially mined by a person for use in Uganda. So it's for you and me to decide. It is on this basis, honorable colleagues, that the Auditor General noted that there are no regulations for the mining of sand, clay, maram, and stone quarrying used for commercial purposes, contrary to the Mining Act. As a result, government cannot levy royalties on sand mining activities. Failure to levy royalties on commercialized sand materials means loss of revenue to the national treasury. Recommendations. Right Honourable Speaker, I'd like to recommend as follows. A, in line with Section 2 of the Mining Act, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development should issue regulations for the exploitation of sand as an industrial mineral in Uganda within 3 months. I think even 3 months I thought we were being a little bit too generous. B, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development should develop and publish an atlas for minerals including sand in Uganda. 342, sand mining guidelines. The committee, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee observes that lack of guidelines makes monitoring of sand mining by local government difficult on issues such as adherence to buffer zone limits, extraction depth, volumes extracted, and management of violations, among others. Here we want to recommend as follows, that NEMA, in consultation with the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, should develop national sand mining guidelines by April 2017, and the guidelines be disseminated to licensed sand miners in the country. Sand extraction limits, 343. The committee observed that A, wetland and lake permits issued for sand mining by NEMA only demarcate boundaries of extraction, with the exception of Aqua World, Uganda Limited, and Seroma Limited. Sites where extraction was prohibited beyond 4 meters, after other sites lacked guidelines on excavation depth. Whereas NEMA advised that the excavation depth should not exceed 4 meters, it does not have scientific backing for this limit. Some were as deep as 15 meters, just next to Lake Victoria. B, NEMA does not monitor or record excavation depth by the different miners. C, while NEMA recommends fish farming as one of the restoration measures, the authority has not consulted with MAIF, which is the competent authority on fish farming. Hence, during its consultative meeting with the committee, the Fisheries Department of the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries submitted that fish performs best in ponds of depth ranging from 1.5 meters to 2 meters and strongly advised that Ruera wetland was not suitable at all for fish farming due its nature of drainage. D, sand mining technology is continuously evolving and NEMA lacks capacity to certify the technology to establish extraction volumes. All sites lacked measuring equipment and records of how much sand had been extracted. Hence, it was difficult to determine how much sand has been mined for commercial purposes. This poses the risk of extracting sand beyond its regeneration capacity. For instance, the Mango Tree Limited dredger has the capacity to dredge up to the depth of 20 meters and extract 1,000 tons of sand in a day from Lake Victoria. E, NEMA lacks a detailed, and we were told that at that rate, there will be no sand in Uganda in the next 10 years. So, E, NEMA lacks a detailed cadastral map indicating areas with commercial sand deposits. A cadastral would be a basis for setting extraction depth and volumes. Consequently, in May 2015, NEMA issued a permit to Yu Jingshu to undertake sand mining on plot 26, block 149 in Rugarama, Kamuwunga village, Chamulibwa parish, Bukulura sub-county in Kalungu district. Unfortunately, the developer was unable to obtain commercial deposits on the land, hence abandoning the site. Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues, we make the following recommendations. 1, that a cadastral mapping be undertaken to establish areas with sand deposits that are viable for commercial sand mining by October 2017. B, NEMA should issue sand mining permits based on evidence that sites have commercially viable sand deposits. C, the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development should undertake a comprehensive study by October 2017 to establish the regeneration rate of sand in Uganda. D, NEMA should ensure that sand miners undertake independent assessment and acquire certification of sand mining equipment. 344, statutory instrument banning the transportation of wet sand. During the budget speech of 2015-16 financial year, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development informed the country that the Minister of Works and Transport was to issue a statutory instrument banning the transportation of wet sand. This was aimed at controlling overloading of sand transportation trucks, which are prone to axle load overloading that seriously damages roads. The committee, however, noted that to date, trucks are still ferrying wet sand on Kampala-Masaka Highway, as it was the case across other roads in the country. Having heard this noise we have been making as a committee, they have now resorted to transporting sand at night. That's when maybe Minister of Works people are not on site to try and stop them, or even the police. What do we recommend? Our recommendation, Right Honourable Speaker, is as follows: that the Minister of Works Transport should issue a statutory instrument banning the transportation of wet sand by January 2017. I think that is also a little bit being too modest. I think it should even be a little bit earlier than that, because surely them issuing a statutory instrument shouldn't take such a long time. But anyway, that's our recommendation. 345, restoration orders. The committee observed that a number of restoration orders and improvement notices had been issued to mining companies by district local governments as well as NEMA. However, these were largely ignored by mining companies, particularly regarding demolition of permanent structures in the wetland. For example, in October 2015, Capital Estates was ordered to demolish permanent structures in form of concrete pillars that were constructed in the wetland. To date, they still exist. The committee notes that the increasing degradation of the environment through sand mining is exacerbated by failure of taking legal action against miners that violate the restoration orders. Despite being required to enforce restoration orders under Section 71 of the National Environment Act, NEMA had not enforced any restoration orders at all. Upon examination of copies of the restoration order submitted, the committee found that NEMA does not specify as required under Section 68(2)(f) of the National Environment Act any penalties which may be imposed if the orders are ignored. More importantly, the committee notes that the National Environment Act does not provide the express penalties to environmental offenders. Recommendation: in line with Section 9(2) Objective 1 of the Environmental and National Resources subsector articulated in the NDP 2 of restoring degraded fragile ecosystems, a restoration and rehabilitation bill be presented to before Parliament with the view of mitigating the effects of the rampant environmental degradation. This should be as soon as immediately. 2, NEMA should within 3 months enforce all environmental restoration orders that have not been complied with by companies or individuals degrading the environment as provided for under Section 68 and 70 of the National Environmental Act. C, NEMA should institute legal proceedings in courts of law against all non-complying sand mining companies or individuals by January 2017, in line with Section D. In line with Section 94 of the National Environmental Act, NEMA Board and Policy Committee should advise the Minister responsible for finance to prescribe sand mining as one of the activities that require performance deposit bonds. The refundable performance bonds for sand mining should take effect at the beginning of financial year 2017 and will be essential in financing restoration activities. E, NEMA should enforce the demolition of permanent structures erected by Birungi Simpson, Capital Estates and Aqua World Uganda Limited in Irwera wetland. F, there is urgent need to amend the National Environment Act to provide the express penalties to environmental offenders. Restoration plans. Right Honourable Speaker, the committee observed that sand mining permits issued by NEMA require that decommissioning and restoration plans be submitted to the authority at least 3 months prior to the decommissioning of any of the project components, all as prescribed by the relevant lead agencies. NEMA advises mining to be carried out over large tracts of approved plots in a span of time ranging between 1 and 5 years, while the restoration of the mined area is only given a consideration 3 months prior to decommissioning. The committee observes that this period may be inadequate to comprehensively plan restoration activities for mined areas, which is aggravated by the fact that the extracted volumes are unknown and not periodically regulated during the course of the mining project. The committee therefore further observed that mining sites had abandoned areas or pits on their sites and had not been decommissioned or restored at all. The committee also noted none of the companies reported to have submitted any decommissioning and restoration plans to NEMA. We recommend as follows. We recommend that restoration plans should be submitted to NEMA at inception of the project and continuously updated throughout the project's life. This will ensure commitment by miners and ease monitoring by NEMA and other lead agencies. Coordination of lead agencies. This is about licensing. I will not go into those details. And now I go to recommendation therefrom. 1, we recommend that NEMA should with immediate effect require all companies owned by foreigners to attach their investment license to their project briefs, environment impact assessments, and environmental audits. B, we recommend that lead agencies should coordinate their licensing processes to enhance synergies required for regulation of sand mining and other investors within the country. Compliance enforcement, 2472. The committee was informed that NEMA did not share copies of wetland or lake permits, sand mining guidelines, and restoration notices with local governments and local leaders as indicated in their correspondences. The committee noted that this adversely affected monitoring and coordination of sand mining activities. Therefore, local governments and local leaders were not aware which companies were authorized to undertake mining in their areas of jurisdiction. For instance, during the committee's consultation meeting at Rukaya Town Council, it was reported by Kalungu District Local Government that Seroma Limited was not among the companies that have ever been permitted to undertake sand mining in Ruera. Yet the company had earlier on attained its certificate of approval for environmental impact assessment to undertake sand mining on 14th June 2016, a copy of which was submitted to the committee by NEMA. We recommend as follows. NEMA should within 2 months avail copies of all lake and wetland user permits for sand mining for the last 5 years to all district local governments as a means of ensuring regular monitoring, tracking, or compliance and reporting. B, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should establish a conditional grant for district environmental inspection in financial year 2017-2018. This would increase funds for environmental monitoring in local governments. C, the minister responsible for finance should report to Parliament within 6 months on the establishment of the conditional grant for district environmental inspection. 3473 is about routine monitoring, and on this one we recommend that the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development should establish a conditional grant for district environmental inspection in financial year 2017-2018. We also recommend that NEMA should undertake monitoring of sand mines at least once every 2 months. 348 is on National Physical Development Plan, and on this one we recommend that the Minister in charge of Lands, Housing and Urban Development should report to Parliament within 3 months on the progress made in the development of the National Physical Development Plan. The last term of reference is establishing the socio-economic impacts of sand mining in those areas. Right Honourable Speaker, a number of socio-economic impacts have arisen from sand mining in Uganda. The committee particularly set out to investigate the uses of sand which is mined in Uganda, impact on the fish stocks, local content, employment levies, sand exports, taxes collected from sand mining, and community relations. Below are the findings and recommendations. Uses of sand, I think we have agreed that the committee observed that the sand mined in Uganda is mainly used for building homes and infrastructure works within Uganda. It was also asserted by the sand miners that the sand mined was used in ongoing infrastructure development projects such as Kampala Entebbe Express Highway, Karuma Isimba hydropower dams. Companies were also bidding to supply sand for expansion of Entebbe International Airport. We were also informed that some of the sand actually goes as far as South Sudan. Impact of fish stocks on as a result of this. The committee noted that although it was an undisputed fact that fish stocks were reducing in Lake Victoria, there was no scientific study to entirely attribute the reduction of sand mining. The Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, however, asserted that sand mining destroyed critical fish breeding and nursery areas, particularly wetlands, thereby interfering with the food web. Removal of sand harvested millions of fish eggs, and sound by dredging equipment interfered with the ecology. The ministry condemned sand mining activities undertaken under the guise of aquaculture fish farming as it is detrimental to the sustainability of the fisheries industry in Uganda. Right Honourable Speaker, we make the following recommendations. 1. NEMA should with immediate effect institute legal sanctions against illegal sand miners as provided for under the NEMA Act. B. Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries should carry out further studies to ascertain the impact of sand mining on fish stocks and management of fish breeding areas, as well as instituting measures in the interim to protecting fish breeding grounds. Local content. Right Honourable Speaker, the committee observed that local people were being pushed completely out of sand mining industry by the introduction of hydraulic and mechanical equipment, all units. The committee notes that the equipment used is highly capital intensive and cannot be afforded by local people. As a consequence, most local people are excluded from the lucrative sand mining business. Also, a few local investors involved in sand mining were not fully complying with, unfortunately, the existing laws. All foreign mining companies that the committee interacted with had no local shareholders at all. And they are put clearly there. There they are. You can read them. The committee in October 2016 noted that a compliance assessment by Uganda Investment Authority was undertaken on all investment licenses issued to sand mining investors. It was established, Right Honourable Speaker, that there is growing public concern about the involvement of foreign investors in sand mining activities. Sections of the public asserted that sand mining should be a preserve, honestly, of local people. Recommendation. Right Honourable Speaker, the committee recommended that sand mining permits should be ring-fenced for only local investors. Employment. The committee observed that at most mining sites employed about 10 people, mainly to operate equipment, offer security. Those who are the Ugandans being employed on that. Otherwise, the majority are non-Ugandans. And on this one, we are recommending that the Directorate of Migration and Citizen Control should regularly undertake impromptu inspections to all foreign-owned companies so as to ascertain the legality of the immigrants, because we found out that the majority are actually non-Ugandans without even work permits. Yes, in one place, Mango Tree, we went and we were told they had 65 people on the payroll. They had 23, and out of the 23, 14 were non-Ugandans. The next day, immigration rushed there and got there 27 illegal immigrants. So it's all that bad. The Directorate of Immigration and Citizen Control should automate, as a recommendation, that is B, the Directorate of Immigration and Citizen Control should automate their records for easy access and real-time registration of all foreigners within the country. The Directorate of Immigration and Citizen Control should set up stringent measures to ensure that foreigners issued with visitors' visas should not engage in any employment in Uganda. Levy or assessments. That one you can read, but our recommendation on levy is that local government authorities should allocate adequate funding to environmental inspection. And B, URA should guide on how to assess levies for sand mining. Exportation of sand. This is important. Right Honourable Speaker, the committee noted that sand is not a restricted export in Uganda. The Minerals Prohibition Act, Cap 147, only prohibits exportation of copper. The committee established that as of 14th October 2016, 42 companies registered with URA had exported 63,380 kilograms of sand worth Uganda shillings 11.5 million in the period 2012 to 2016. Destinations included Kenya, Canada, France, Tanzania, and United States of America, among others. The committee was informed by URA that the highest quantity was 15,000 kilograms exported by Rolex International Uganda Limited in 2013 to Kenya, while the least quantity was 3 kilograms exported by Talo, for reasons, Talo Uganda Limited to Great Britain. It is important to note that from the list presented to the committee by URA, none of the exporters was involved in sand mining. Taxes from the sand mining. During the period July 2013 to October 2016, URA had so far collected a total tax of Uganda shillings 14.9 billion from 13 licensed sand mining companies. Collections were received in form of income tax, domestic tax, and custom payments. The committee observed that while issuing permits, NEMA does not require tax clearance certificates from prospective sand miners. As a consequence, many sand miners are not captured and tracked by URA. Recommendation. The committee recommends that in accordance with the Income Tax Act, NEMA should require a valid tax clearance certificate from sand miners before issuance of or renewal of wetland or lake user permits. Community relations. 358. The committee noted tensions building up between communities living in Kamaliba Fishing Village with the Birungi Simpson, Aqua World Limited, and LC3 chairperson in Kozi Sub-County. Residents reported to the committee the following: that Birungi Simpson intimidated the people through anonymous calls and had reported him to police. They threatened to have local people evicted, and through his sand mining activities had removed the community road leading to Kamuga Primary School. Hence, primary school going children had to trek longer route to Kamuga. Residents were beaten and some were even disabled. Aqua World Uganda Limited had heavily deployed security operatives that threatened local residents, and Mr. Lubega Paul, LC3 chairperson of Nkozi Sub-County, threatened to have local leaders of Kamaliba Fishing Village imprisoned on a regular basis. Every time he was there, people would just scamper for their safety. During the inspection of Kamaliba Fishing Village, the committee A witnessed hostile relations between residents and the manager of Birungi Simpson. In actual fact, in that particular area, people cried and knelt down and they said, "You mean there are Ugandans who are also there to fight for us? We thought the world had ended for us." That graphically, that's what they told us. B, they stopped, we had to stop a brawl between LC3 chairperson of Nkozi Sub-County and LC1 of Kamaliba Fishing Village during our visit. We also witnessed a police deployment at Aqua World Uganda Limited. Recommendations. A, the Chief Administrative Officer and District Security Committee of Mpigi District should with immediate effect convene a meeting between sand miners and residents with the aim of ensuring harmonious coexistence. Government security forces should refrain from providing protection to private persons and property, as was witnessed at the Aqua World, while even threatening and intimidating the wananchi. C, the District Police Command of Mpigi should with immediate effect investigate the complaints of intimidation and harassment of the residents of Kamaliba and report accordingly to the relevant authorities. D, the resident district commander, the resident district commissioner and the CAO should ensure that the community road, which was blocked by Birungi Simpson, is opened and restored to enable the children access the only primary school in the area. Conclusion. In conclusion, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee notes that sand is a resource that is very important for the country's construction industry. However, its exploitation should be sustainable and not detrimental to the environment. Sand miners should be regulated and guided so as to ensure that sand will meet today's needs as well as those for the future generations without jeopardizing the development of other sectors such as fisheries. Whereas the findings in the report are based on the districts of Mpigi, Kalungu, and Wakiso, Right Honourable Speaker, the committee notes that this is largely the case in the entire country. We only lacked time. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, in light of the findings and recommendations herein, the committee recommends that the House adopts this report for improved management of sand mining in Uganda. I beg to move. I wish to lay on table the minutes that formed our conclusions. I beg to lay.
Thank you very much, the Chair and members of the Committee of Natural Resources. I want to thank you for the work you did very expeditiously, and thank you for sacrificing your recess because you stayed here when people were able to go to their constituencies. Now, honourable members, this report touches the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Ministry of Energy is here, the Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Water and Environment. If you wish, we can proceed with the debate. I'm in your hands because the people who I want are not here except Honorable Chris. But you can't come early. You have to wait for the members' comments.
Madam Speaker, procedure. Yes. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, given the magnitude of this report and the problems, and even the very many recommendations touching so many ministries, and if I can see only one ministry represented, no, two, local government, and then minerals. And yet we need water, we need finance, we need
lands,
internal affairs, local government is represented, energy. So, Madam Speaker, we also need education because we need works, because the roads are being closed, the roads are being closed, the schools don't have roads, even defense. So, Madam, defense is represented by the State Minister, environment is not here. So, Madam Speaker, I don't know whether it will not be procedural right for us to debate this very important report on either tomorrow or on Tuesday, because as you can see, we have a terrible problem, as if we don't have leaders, as if we don't have government. So I beg that if you find it proper, we get another day and really we internalize this big report. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, there's no guarantee that on any one given day we will have all these ministers. Right Honourable Speaker, and considering the interest that this report has generated and the numbers of members of Parliament who may want to express their opinion on this report, I'm wondering whether it would not be proper to start now and then we can always continue on any other date. I beg to submit.
Honorable Bua. Honorable Bua.
Right Honorable Speaker, this is a very, very important report touching on a number of sectors and government ministries. And I wanted to propose that owing to the fact that most of the ministries mentioned are not here, your chair uses the powers conferred upon you to direct the Prime Minister to ensure that the ministers who should be present to answer issues related to their department are either here tomorrow or on Tuesday next week, and we debate this report. Madam Speaker, that is my humble request.
Yeah. Honorable Prime Minister, actually listening to this report, it makes you feel that as if this country is a public toilet. That's how you feel after listening to this report. So I think I want the ministers to hear the comments about their sectors from the members of parliament. So I'm directing the ministers of internal affairs, the minister for mine is here, water and environment, lands, finance, there's no fisheries, to read this report today. Tomorrow we shall debate this matter. It's very, very important. We must debate it tomorrow. Prime Minister, please ensure that your team is here tomorrow. This is very, very important and very, I don't know. Okay, Prime Minister. Agriculture? Okay, agriculture as well. Next week. Tomorrow.
Most obliged, Madam Speaker, but for sure, I must express my personal regrets and disappointment that our side has shown. We have been in cabinet this morning with everybody, and even we closed the cabinet earlier in order for all of us to come here. So we are not here. And therefore,
Now the Prime Minister to speak, please.
I'm really sorry. But I fully agree with what you have said. And indeed, this report has touched me. And I must thank the chairman and his team for really making a very, very thorough and in-depth report. I would request that we summon our ministers to be ready on Tuesday, so that we have, they have no excuse. One, of not coming, two, of not reading. They must read these papers. I have it on my iPad, and therefore they should also have. So, Madam, I request that you allow me to bring them on Tuesday. Thank you.
Okay, honour members, debate will ensue on Tuesday next week. Let the ministers get ready, and we should have a fully fledged debate. So, House adjourned to tomorrow? Yes, Honourable. House adjourned to tomorrow at 2 p.m.
Let's wait.